trying when I know there's something to live for. I keep fighting, but I know I'm losing the battle. And it's hard to see the sun. I keep trying when I know there's something to live for. You're not saying I'm like why? I keep fighting, but I know I'm losing the battle. I keep trying when I know there's something to live for. And the rock keep on me wide. Hey, what's up? What's up? This your guy Ray Hanma, one versus a million. Let me know if I can be heard. Hopefully, I can be heard. One versus a million. I'm not your fan. I'm not your stand for. I am brother. This is the Hanma Force. And this is the Hanma Force Anime Night, and also this is the Geekverse News, the introduction to the Anime Night. All right, so we can go ahead and get it started because I got some a handful of videos I want to share with you guys, some news relating to the Geekverse, to the anime and the like. And so, yep, and we can dive into checking out other creators as well, um, other black creators, black actors, black excellence. So, yeah, so let's get started. And without further ado, I'm going to get into it. And also hit the like, share, subscribe, and hit the follow over here for the Rumble side. And the link to the anime night is in the description. All right, and hit the Cash App, which is also in the description and in the chat right now. So salute to you guys. Thank you guys for coming through. And yeah, let's get into it, man. I want to share these with you guys real quick, and then sometime after, I have everything loaded up, and sometime after we'll be watching our Kingdom series, The Great War. I think it was around like 256 BC, somewhere around there, where the Kingdom of Canaan fight against the coalition army. Man, and this is awesome. Y'all gonna fucking love it. Yes. As y'all seen that, man, it's just build up, as it got better and better with each episode. Yeah. Just wait for this shit. And I like it too, man, because in this anime, if there's any like wimpy bitch made attitudes and shit, yeah, that gets checked quick. Yeah, there's no room for that. There's no room for that shit. All right, so yeah, so let's get into our next video, or the first video for today, for this night, for basically late Friday night, going into basically Saturday. Here we go.
Damn, so Shonen Jump is about to cancel another one? Really? Like, yo, we just started the year. What's going on here? We got some good and bad and all around just kind of crazy news for Solo Leveling. Bleach fans, I got an update for you. Boruto fans are gonna be very happy, to say the least, with this latest news, as well as Jujutsu Kaisen fans. And we got so much more to talk about, so without further ado, let's jump into another exciting episode of Whatever News! The only news source that provides anything and everything anime and manga related, and we don't bore you, we get into it. Let's do it! You don't even know yourself, but you care about others. Why don't you find out yourself who you are? Why don't you find out yourself who you are? Why don't you find out yourself who you are? before we continue, hit that subscribe button and that bell so you get notified on anything and everything in the world of anime and manga. The buttons are right there. Hit them. Okay, people, so even though the year has just begun, it seems as though Shonen Jump is already gearing to end another series in the magazine, and I'm kind of like, sheesh, really? Like, we just getting started in the year. What's going on here? Now, in case you haven't heard about this author, been rooting for this author for a while now, and definitely was a little bit shocked to hear this, but seems as though the author known as Yuki Kawaguchi's latest series, Oteru of the Flame, is going to be ending here soon. Or at the very least, the writing is on the wall that this series is about to come to a close. And it's a bit disappointing because this series hasn't been going on all that long, and yet it seems as though it's probably going to be ending. And maybe you're not familiar with this series, but this author has already had a series in Shonen Jump a while back called The Hunters Guild Red Hood. And honestly, I was pretty disappointed when that series ended too, because that one was really good. Read the whole thing. This one may have checked out a chapter or two, something in that ballpark. But regardless of what, whenever I see an author with talent, an author that really can create something great, I'm always rooting to see this author win. So hearing this one, I'm a little bit like, yo, wow, why? Let's read to get more info. Shonen Jump likely ready to cancel its first major series in 2026. It's the start of the new year for Shueisha's weekly Shonen Jump magazine, and it already seems like there's another major series heading for cancellation. Shonen Jump had one of its most transitional years in 2025 as 13 major franchises ended with the weekly magazine over the course of it. There were a few series that were able to reach their natural ends, but ultimately there were roughly 10 major cancellations that saw many creators end their series before they ever really had a chance. And it seems like the first cancellation of 2026 is at hand too. There are a few series in 2025 that had fans been suspecting they were going to be canceled in the near future, but that's starting to take shape with Yuki Kawaguchi's Oteru of the Flame. It's a shame because this creator already had his series canceled with the magazine with under 20 chapters, and this newest effort is likely going to end within the next few chapters as well, with its final battle already beginning with chapter 33. Oteru of the Flame ended 2025 with the debut of the King of the Ice Kingdom, one of the big icons that Oteru and the others had been journeying towards through the series thus far. Oteru himself had reached a new level of understanding with the Flame Spirit, and the two had united their power into a new final form. But with chapter 33 of the series released this past week, it's now clearer than ever that the series is coming to an end, as all of the spirits and their respective warriors have been gathered into a single place much sooner than fans might have guessed. If Oteru of the Flame is already starting its final battle, the axe is likely going to hit within the next 1 or 2 chapters. We're either going to get a rush through finale with a final couple of pages to help send it off, or enough room to end the final battle and then have a final chapter to end the story. Either situation has got to be tough for Yuki Kawaguchi themselves, as they've been through this situation before with the cancellation of the Hunters Guild Red Hood. Though Oteru is a totally different kind of series than the previous effort and managed to make it beyond 20 chapters, it just seems never really caught fire with Shonen Jump fans. It has a unique kind of power system, cool ideas, and great art, and if the cancellation does come, hopefully Kawaguchi doesn't get discouraged and tries again with something new someday. And there's a few different reasons why things like this happen, one of which we're in an era and an age of this point where, yeah, if your series ain't jumping off the pages in popularity and fans are screaming about it within the first handful of chapters, usually the powers that be, the higher up, be like, well, maybe it's not connecting. At least they gave this one a bit more than Yuki's previous effort with, you know, now it's currently at like 33 chapters. But still, nonetheless, it's kind of crazy that, like, it would be nice for this author, and in particular for a lot of authors, to be able to get at least a full year serialization before getting canceled off. Now, it'd be a little bit different if the series was like, you know, causing some sort of problems or something like that, but for the most part, it just seems like it's a decent series by an author that has really been giving it their all, because to make it into this magazine twice is no easy or small feat, to say the least. Like, it takes a lot of work to get into Weekly Shonen Jump, clearly. And I'm sure Kawaguchi is going to land on their feet in one way or another and get something else going at some given point if they were able to do it again, because I mean, I've covered it before, but like, for example, the author of the 7 Deadly Sins, they had a lot of issues getting up and running and getting a hit manga series, and went through years of putting out stuff until they finally got one with the 7 Deadly Sins. So I guess the message in all of this is to say that, yeah, despite the fact that sometimes things might be disappointing at first, don't give up. Legitimately, you never know when that next big break is going to happen in whatever it is, especially if you're genuinely passionate about something, especially if you genuinely think that, like, yo, this is what I want to do with myself, then give it your all. But at the same time, I want to actually balance that out by saying that, yo, if you feel like there's something that's pulling you in a different direction, maybe Yuki Kawaguchi has done all that they wanted with manga and feels like they want to go a different route, then I'm fine with that too. Like, not to get too quote unquote deep with it, shall I say, but like, honestly, you get more or less 100 years in in this world. You know what I'm saying? Do what you want with your life. Do the best that you possibly can. Follow your passions, follow your dreams and goals, and see where it takes you. But once again, I just want to say big shout outs to Yuki Kawaguchi, and we're rooting for you over here, fam. Moving forward, Solo Leveling fans, I told you I got a whole wide variety of news regarding, well, there's stuff about the live action series. There's a very disappointing update on the webcomic that is currently ongoing, the webtoon, because in case you don't know, Solo Leveling has a sequel spin-off series that's been going on for a while now. And yeah, I guess let's get to the quote-unquote bad news first and then end off with the good news. Because one of the first updates we got regarding the webtoon that was worrisome was that the second season of the webtoon Solo Leveling Ragnarok had ended with chapter 68. There were 21 chapters and the series was now on hiatus. So a lot of fans, when we got this update, were like, really? Like 21 chapters? Like, what's going on here? And then we got this update that apparently the Solo Leveling Ragnarok series was going on indefinite hiatus due to the artist Jin serving his mandatory military service in South Korea, and apparently that was supposed to last for like 1.5 years, so that was just like extremely disappointing. However, there is a silver lining here, because despite the fact that Solo Leveling Ragnarok's lead artist Jin was leaving the project, it was revealed in a message at the end of the chapter, and the reason of course was because the artist was drafted into the military. A new illustrator has already been found, and it will be one of Dubu's disciples, so essentially they're already getting somebody else to get back on the ball game to keep this ship going. And well, here's what the artist from Solo Leveling Ragnarok had to say before he left. Hello dear readers, I'm the artist Jin. Even before I was entrusted with Solo Leveling, I had been an avid fan of his work throughout my school years. I started drawing after seeing artist Jang Song-rock's artwork and direction, and that influence has remained the foundation of my work till this day. After graduating high school, I continued taking part in contests, and then through an unexpected opportunity, I was chosen and given the honor of working on Solo Leveling's side stories. I still remember very clearly how I felt when I first heard the news. About 4 years have passed since then, and through side stories and Solo Leveling Ragnarok, I was able to gain many experiences, both as an author and as a person. I had many shortcomings and there were difficult moments as well, but I believe that is exactly what made the time so valuable. As of today, I am wrapping up all work related to this title and will be stepping away from my position for a while. Due to personal circumstances, military service, I will be away temporarily, but I believe that this is not the end. It is another period of preparation. I also want to send my heartfelt support to the artist who will continue the series, another disciple of artist Jang Song-rock. Given the weight and expectations that come along with a work like Solo Leveling, it will not be an easy role, but I believe you will surely expand this world even further in your own unique colors. I hope readers will also stay with the series with warm and kind eyes. To everyone who worked together with me, and above all to the readers who loved and supported this work, I offer my sincere thanks. Each and every one of your reactions was a great source of strength for me. Going forward, I will keep this experience close to my heart and continue striving so that I can show you artwork I won't be ashamed of. Thank you truly for everything. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of got emotional even reading that, because you could tell that this means a lot to homie, and him having to step away for this time is a very tough situation. So massive salute to homie for what he's done. Massive salute to the people that are continuing on this project. Good luck to whoever it is that's going to be picking up the art aspect of this series. And yeah, I guess it was kind of a balanced thing of like, it's bad news that they're losing the current artist, but it's good news that the story and, you know, the show must go on, so to speak, and it will. Then we got a whole bunch of other news, so I'm just gonna give it to you as follows. Solo Leveling producer, I'm imagining, for the anime 2026 message to fans. Something truly exciting might happen for Solo Leveling fans this year. I'm sorry, but please wait just a little longer. Maybe we might get a trailer or a teaser or something for the Solo Leveling movie, because realistically we don't know when and how long that film is going to take to come out. Obviously we would love to get it this year, but if it doesn't happen, Solo Leveling is a very beautiful piece of art, and it takes probably a long time to make this thing. So however long it takes, we know when it does come is going to be massively, insanely epic of a story, and we're all here for it. Then we got updates for the Solo Leveling live action, which this is something that I'm really interested in, because we also got a mixed bag of good and bad news in this world as well. Because, well, for starters, Solo Leveling's Netflix live action adaptation will feature heavy romance between Song Jin-woo, you know, of course the main character, and Cha Ha-in, his, you know, well, I don't want to spoil it, but if you're watching the anime, or if you read the webtoon, or if you've seen the spoiler, then you know what type of relationship they build throughout the story, according to the series' director. Now that's a good and a bad thing, because, well, for starters, if you've seen the Solo Leveling anime at the very least, then you know that Cha Ha-in doesn't even like barely showcase in season 1, and it's not until season 2 that she actually really started to show up and become a big deal. will. So if they're already talking about this, either they've been filming a crazy amount and they're way ahead, or they've written way ahead, or the Solo Leveling live action Netflix is about to take incredibly huge liberties in terms of what they do, which of course everyone's first instinct is that, oh my god, it's going to be bad, but it could be good. I don't want to write it out just yet. You never know what could happen. Netflix also claims that the Solo Leveling live action adaptation will feature top tier global visual effects team, setting a new standard for live action adaptations, meaning they're going to put in the works because they understand very clearly that Solo Leveling is one of the most popular anime right now. Like, look at what it did at the Crunchyroll Awards just recently. Like, people love Solo Leveling. Make sure you give it its just due. But here's where the quote-unquote troubling aspect begins, because apparently the live-action Solo Leveling series will reportedly begin filming in April 2026, but will have 7 episodes. And yeah, it's going to stream on Netflix, but 7 episodes. You see, Solo Leveling has become one of the biggest global sensations in the entertainment industry ever since the manhwa was released. Its popularity, however, bloomed to an entirely different level when the anime debuted, with the second season only escalating that popularity on an even larger scale. While fans await updates on the next installment of the anime, with recent developments suggesting that news could arrive at any time, there is another project currently in production that fans never expected. A few months after the second season of the anime came to an end last year, Netflix announced a live-action adaptation of the series. Momentum for the live-action project has continued to grow with reveal of its cast, and this momentum has not slowed, as the latest information has seemingly confirmed both the episode count for this ambitious project and when filming might begin. However, according to a job listing on the Korean forum filmmakers community, the cast for additional characters set to appear in the live action have been confirmed, along with an episode count of 7 and the filming for it beginning in April. While it has not been confirmed what content will be covered within these 7 episodes, the limited episode count is a concern for now. You see, since K-dramas typically run longer, usually around 12 to 16 episodes, this update is concerning if Netflix plans to wrap the project in just 7 episodes. While Solo Leveling narrative is not hundreds of chapters long, it still spans roughly 200 chapters. Condensing that many chapters, each packed with significant events, would undoubtedly hurt the live action project. That said, it is possible Netflix is planning to adapt the series across multiple seasons, which more than likely it will. But again, the thing about it is, if they're already talking about heavy romance with Cha Ha-in with 7 episodes, like, it looks like they're going to be within 7 episodes crossing into season 2 territory. Kind of crazy. Because from this perspective, another major concern stems that rumors of the live action being romance emphasized, it will require notable changes to the original narrative. This shift could potentially turn the project into a fantasy romance series with occasional action elements rather than the action heavy story it is meant to be, and the small episode count only added fuel to this approach. This could mean that the live action will be a short, super fantasy romantic series wrapping its entire run in 7 episodes. Oh my god, if the whole thing is done in 7 episodes, then whoa, like, that is way too quick. Like, at least 4 seasons maybe to, you know, okay, maybe 4 is a bit much than what Netflix wants if they're only doing 7 episodes to begin with, but dog, come on, 2 or 3 seasons at least. Like, if they're planning on doing all of Solo Leveling in one 7 episode season, I don't know. Honestly, just seems like a lot. But I guess let me know what you guys think about all this. How do you feel about the Solo Leveling Ragnarok artist leaving? Do you think that they could keep it up with a new artist? How do you feel about changing artists midway through a project in general? Solo Leveling anime, you think that this update means we're going to be getting something regarding the movie this year? You think we're possibly going to be getting the movie this year? And what do you think about the Solo Leveling live action being only 7 episodes and heavy romance aspects of Jinwoo and Cha Ha-in? This could either be really great, or, well, I'm going to be positive about this because love Solo Leveling here. I'm gonna go with, yeah, this is gonna be at the very least an enjoyable experience. And regardless of what, shout outs to Solo Leveling. Moving forward, this right here is some great news for a couple different series, because, well, when you enjoy a series and, you know, you're really into it, you want to see it succeed. And right here we got the top most read manga chapters on Manga Plus in 2025. These are the ones that people just gravitated towards the most. Well, technically we got 7 here, like, yeah. At number 7 we got Kaiju number 8, chapter 121. I'm not sure if that's the last chapter that they put out or not, but that did over 400,000 views. At number 6, Black Clover number 378, that's over 500,000, 549. Don the Don 182, over 500,000, 565. Chainsaw Man, which I'm not gonna lie, I do need to address Chainsaw Man at some given point, just because I made a comment a while back about Chainsaw Man, how I felt about it, and, well, we'll get into that in another video. But that chapter did 800,000. Craziness. One Piece, which One Piece been going on for ages, so it's unfair to judge it against anything but itself, but even still, it came in at number 3, 822, with chapter 1161. Jeez, yo, One Piece has been going on a very, very long time. Like, some argue too long, some argue not long enough, but yeah. And then the top two, which it's kind of crazy, right? Because for the most part, most people always be bashing like sequel series, spin-off series. They always say like it's not as good as the original, or you know, there's just a lot of hate that comes with it. And the top two most read are Boruto at number 2 with almost 900k, and that was chapter 21. And then at number 1 is Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, number 1 with, oh my gosh, 1.8 M's, which I say that this is a massive win for both of them. For starters, Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo is a mini sequel series. It's not meant to last that long based on what Gege Akutami had originally said, and coming off of the heels of the manga that has been, you know, absolutely huge as well. And of course, people getting excited for the anime, and from what I've heard, because only read like first chapter or so, it's actually really good. So that is a major win for a sequel spin-off to actually be doing those type of numbers. But if that didn't come about, Boruto, which is already, you know what, 2 years deep with the Two Blue Vortex story, and again, one of the most hated on series, like people always got an issue for whatever reason with Boruto, that would have been number 1 if it wasn't for Jujutsu Kaisen having this mini special, you know, sequel series. So big ups to both of them. Although I do gotta say that, yo, at the end of the day, it's a massive win for Boruto, because recently did a poll over on my Twitter. If you don't follow me over there, definitely do so, where I asked like which one is the most hated on of like a few different series, and it was pretty much unanimous that people said Boruto is one of the most hated on series. So you got one of the most hated on. People always got something to say about Boruto, and yet it still succeeds. Even on manga sales wise, it's still a big seller, especially in comparison to the contemporaries of it. At this moment, it is still like a top 5 selling manga amongst Shonen Jump stuff. So say what you will about sequel spin-offs, but clearly people are into them, clearly people are supporting them, clearly people are reading them. Big ups to Boruto, big ups to Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo. Let me know if you want to see me do like a full-on review of Modulo when it's all over or something, because definitely very interested in it. And also, yeah, gotta do more Boruto stuff. But regardless of what, Boruto taking major wins, not to mention that the anime is being worked on from what we've heard, and seemingly the Naruto OVAs that's supposed to come out later this year, like, yo, this IP is gonna be going up in a major way, and it's still winning. So big ups to Boruto. Even the haters can't deny that it is doing its thing. Moving forward, Dragon Ball fans. Now this was something that I wanted to cover, because word circulating around can cause certain aspects and certain conflict between creatives, and sometimes it's good to get clarification, because this article had surfaced and I was kind of looking at it like, whoa, Toyotaro, what was going on here? Because apparently, based on what this article said, Torishima, which if you don't know, recently made a video talking about him being like, quote unquote, the biggest hater, obviously hyperbole, but you know, homie always has massive criticisms for Dragon Ball and massive criticisms for Toyotaro, the artist on Dragon Ball right now, the successor essentially to Akira Toriyama, the original creator of Dragon Ball, revealed in his latest video on Super Volume 24 that one of the main reasons he attended Jump Festa was to ask Toyotaro a favor directly. However, according to this, which this article again will explain it, Toyotaro declined, saying he's going to spend time drawing manga from now on and doesn't want his time taken up by anything else. So when a lot of people first read this, they were like, oh my gosh. First of all, they were kind of like, yo, that's kind of based from Toyotaro. Like, what the heck? Me using the word based? Huh? But regardless of what, it was just kind of like, whoa, like, yo, is there some real like tensions here? Like at first you think it's just like, you know, Torishima, former editor, kind of having critiques, maybe Toyotaro and thinking nothing of it. Then you read this and you're like, yo, maybe Toyotaro got smoked for Torishima after all. However, Toyotaro cleared this up, because somebody said, Toyotaro, did you refuse to meet Torishima-san? Who responded, that is misleading. In fact, we have met and spoke. However, there was a request made at that time that didn't go through due to scheduling conflicts, so it's nothing significant. So essentially, Toyotaro shut down any and all things between Torishima and Toyotaro. Seems as though it was just kind of like, yo, no, we actually met before, and yeah, it's all good, like no worries. So sometimes it's better to actually, you know, have that communication and that dialogue and just be upfront to people, so that way, well, word circulating doesn't become a narrative when the truth is something totally different. In regards to like beef, so to speak, and problems, like clearly Toyotaro ain't really sweating much of Torishima's critiques. If anything, probably Toyotaro's looking at it like, yo, okay, how can I take any of this criticism and actually apply it to make my work better? That's what I'm imagining Toyotaro's thinking. And yeah, it seems as though everything is all good, but it's good to clarify this again, because some people are gonna be thinking like, yo, they they got beef, they got smoke. No beef, no smoke clearly between the two of them. It's probably more so the internet, you know, pulling stuff. Then something big that I wanted to address, because there has been this rumor that has been circulating for a few weeks now that apparently there could be a Dragon Ball Super anime remake in the works. And at first, all I heard was the rumor of that, and I thought like, yo, that is so ridiculous. Some of what seemingly is quote unquote the merit behind it is the fact that there was an image that had leaked out, or an image that had surfaced, shall I say, of some art that looked like the Dragon Ball Battle of Gods, you know, arc or whatnot, where the characters are holding hands to make Goku go Super Saiyan God, but it looks slightly different. And a lot of people were saying that this is actually, you know, art from this upcoming Dragon Ball Super remake, because they're gonna remake it all. And even more so, what added credence to it, because again, you could just see any art out there. When this was posted, apparently Shueisha had taken that thing down, which made people believe even more like, yo, this actually might be legit. And I'm gonna just come out here and straight up say it, that I think a remake of Dragon Ball Super's anime is 100% unnecessary. Like, if it's happening, then so be it. But personally, I think that like there's no reason to that. Like, we had the first two arcs alone started off as films. We had them as, you know, the TV anime remade them. We had Battle of Gods remade in the manga. Like, this has already been done before. Dragon Ball Super was an incredible success. I don't see it even reaching a tenth of the success if they remake those parts. Like, don't get me wrong, with today's animation techniques and whatnot, could it look better? Possibly, but at the end of the day, it didn't really look bad to begin with. Maybe you could argue that the story had some issues for sure, but regardless of what, a remake of that stuff just feels like unneeded. Just continue on adapting the stuff that needs to be adapted. If they want to remake the movies that haven't been remade yet, the Broly film and the superhero film, into TV anime, and continue on with the manga stuff or whatnot, then so be it. But remaking everything, like, that would just be retreading stuff that is unnecessary. Like, a thought that personally I had was, well, maybe this is actually official art, but maybe it's that they're going to start off with a recap of events from Dragon Ball Super, and this is probably a shot from that. That could be the case, but regardless of what, whichever way it goes, just please don't remake Dragon Ball Super. It's unnecessary. It already exists. 131 episodes. Don't need it again.
Damn right.
The Moro arc, there's the Granola arc. If you want to redo the Broly film, go for it, I guess. And if you want to redo the superhero film, go for it, I guess. I think if anything, that one would kind of be interesting, because remember, the superhero film was in 3D, a 2D animation version with real high quality. That would be beautiful to see, and I wouldn't be mad at it. But a remake of Super's anime? Nah. But that could just be me. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it. Moving forward, I got an update for Bleach fans. Obviously, over the Christmas break, the Bleach crew, the people that do the, you know, the anime or whatnot, had been resting or whatnot, but it seems as though Kubo and company are ready to get back to work, because according to this, the studio and Kubo have returned to work after the break. About 70% of the work has been completed, which is fantastic to hear. That means that they're getting close to, you know, wrapping things up. 30%, I mean, that still could be a decent chunk of work, but we got all the way until July, and even after the fact, depending on what episodes need to be animated. Like, they got a lot of time to finish this thing off, and it also shows just like what type of person Kubo is. Tite Kubo is not lazy at all. Like, sure, on the manga side of things, we would love more of the Bleach, you know, spin-off sequel that he had started with the one shot or whatnot. Sure, we would love more of Burn the Witch that he started a while back and hasn't really put out much since. But that's mainly because he's been working on other endeavors and other projects. Once the Bleach Thousand Blood War anime wraps itself up, if there's nothing else in production for a bit on the anime side of things, he might go back to the manga world. It's the equivalent to, like, okay, you're working on one project, or you have one job, and once that job finishes up, then you move on to another job, or you go back to a previous job. Like, it's just how it is. So I'm glad to hear this update. And again, I just want to say that for anybody that thinks that maybe Tite Kubo is lazy, you're wrong, and maybe you should just take a closer look at what's really going on. Then we got this update a while back, but it was interesting to see it surface again, that apparently a Bleach live action is reportedly in the works at Warner Brothers. A live action adaptation of Bleach is reportedly in development at Warner Brothers, according to a former employee of Viz Media. Fans' responses largely oppose the idea, citing failures like Dragon Ball Evolution and the 2018 Japanese Bleach film with mixed reception, although I think that that film was actually pretty good. And yeah, to see this resurface, it's like, it's kind of old news. I don't know why people were sending this, but yeah, hopefully it's good. Like, I'm not gonna continue being pessimistic about these things, because if you be pessimistic, then yeah, for sure they're probably going to be bad. Like, I'm not gonna have my expectations through the roof neither and say that this is going to be the greatest film of all time, but it could be good. Maybe they should just learn from their mistakes from the previous one and you know, apply that forward. But only time will tell. Then this is something that I wanted to talk about regarding some comments that Mr. Beast recently made. Like, by no means am I gonna hate on Mr. Beast, like, not a hater over here by any stretch of the imagination. But Omi did say something recently that I thought was kind of a little bit because recently he had changed his profile pic on Twitter to a picture of Luffy, and he had seen like a couple episodes only before doing that, and a lot of people were accusing him of doing it just to hype up, you know, the One Piece live action that's coming or something, which I highly doubt him, you know, talking about One Piece or doing anything of the sort is just to hype up a live action. Like, so I get kind of being frustrated because anime fans sometimes can be a little overwhelming when they criticize you. But then he says some comments like,
is a negative for me to say this, but I've seen more anime than all you little anime clowns with your anime PFPs on Twitter.
Took it a certain way, because it seems like he's saying like, yo, watching a lot of anime is a bad thing. Like, bro, 2026 anime is accepted everywhere. Like, sometimes I feel like people still don't understand the magnitude of what anime kind of has always been, but has become especially now. Like, legitimately, that whole thing of like hiding you're an anime fan, like that whole idea of, you know, if you're an anime fan, only, you know, nerds are anime fans. That's like an antiquated ideology, because like, bro, there are like the most gangsters, dudes, killers, all sorts of stuff that'll watch some Dragon Ball, some Naruto, some Bleach, some One Piece, like businessmen, multi-millionaires that love and watch anime. Like, you never know who could be an anime fan, and that's just how much anime has, you know, kind of gotten to the masses. So when people try to make comments like that or act like, yo, I shouldn't be saying this, like if it's a bad thing, like, bro, there's so many people that have watched anime that you would never in a trillion years expect are anime fans. They just kind of don't put it out there for whatever reason, which I will even throw the argument that at some given point that probably might change too, because there's no reason to hide it. Like, there's artists that are massively mega popular that kind of, you know, embrace anime, put up pictures of them cosplaying all types of characters. Like, anime is nothing to be ashamed about, bro. There's people that, like, I mean, even content creators, for example, like, have made, you know, millions off of talking about anime and stuff like that. Like, it's just that real. So yeah, Mr. Beast's comment right there was a little bit and then he ended it off with adding in like the 6'7" meme, which I was kind of like, but I guess he also said that back in the day he watched like a ton of anime or something like that. So kudos to dude, but I'm never gonna be okay with people disparaging anime in any sort of fashion, because it's like, bruh, millions, possibly billions of people watch anime. It just is what it is. Moving forward, now this right here is rumor pile, but it's also extremely of interest to me because, well, personally, love crossovers. I love when you get to see characters from different series crossover, whether it be an anime form or video game form, because apparently CyberConnect 2, the people behind the Naruto Storm games and the DBZ Kakarot games and the Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicle games, will be announcing their next game February 16th, 2026, and fans are speculating about an announcement of either a Jujutsu Kaisen game or a new Jump Force game. And don't get me wrong, Jujutsu Kaisen is fire, and if that's the game that they're going with, I can only imagine how epic it's going to be. Kakarot, that was just such a freaking good game, bro. Kakarot, I ain't gonna lie, I had so much fun playing Kakarot. And of course, you know, you check the history, Naruto Storm, yeah, I was that dude. But with that being said, Jump Force, right? Because I know Jump Force got a lot of hate back in the days, but Jump Force-esque type of game, meaning a crossover game, maybe more closer to like a J-Stars Victory Versus, or even if they do a Jump Force type of game in the style of Dragon Ball Fighters, that would be, oh my gosh. If they do something like that, that's a game that will last for the next 15 years, just being honest. Because again, similar to what I thought they were going to do with Jump Force, except that, you know, after its, you know, release, it had a lot of bad press or whatnot. That was a game that I thought could have had, and this is, if they decide to do a big Jump crossover game, could be continued with DLC for the future. And I'm not talking about current characters, because please, if they go this route, put as many of the characters that we love as possible within the game. But going forward, there could be like massive opportunities for DLC of characters after they, you know, appear and get popular and Shonen Jump. So say, for example, it starts off right now, today, some of the newbies that are in the magazine right now that people are really hype about, like, you know, the Kagurabachi series or the Ichi the Witch stuff, those series actually, when they get animated, can be DLC proceed into the game. And in general, you make a high quality as far as gameplay wise game with all of these characters, and especially if you make a great story, people will buy it just for the story alone. But if you make it a game where the actual gameplay is great, yeah, this is a game that will sell like 1 trillion copies. Like Jump Force sold like 1 million first day, first week or something like that based off of the hype alone. It would have gotten carried, but again, people were not satisfied with the gameplay of it. Something of this magnitude with either, again, like a fighters type of thing, going back to like more of J-Star's Victory Versus, this could be just the greatest game of all time for an anime fan. But we gotta wait and see. Let me know, I guess, in the comment section below. Would you rather a crossover Shonen Jump game, and what style would you like it in? Or would you prefer them to do like a brand new Jujutsu Kaisen game? Because there was a Jujutsu Kaisen game, and that one was, well, it could have been better. I'll just say that. No hate. Moving forward, I wanted to give props to Michael B. Jordan for this. I'm not even gonna lie, like sometimes Michael B. Jordan, I feel like he does better coverage and does better to promote stuff than some of these companies actually do, because he recently spoke up about My Hero Academia, and one of the things that I thought was dope is the fact that people that aren't into anime, you hear about Michael B. Jordan, you know, this popular star, this popular actor that actually rocks with anime, and the way he passionately talked about it in this one, I was like, yeah, this is how you do it. Because homie said My Hero Academia was the last time he cried watching a TV show. It's like the last season of the series. It was an episode where Bakugo had this emotional moment where he finally got recognized by one of his mentors and idols that he always felt overlooked him throughout the entire show, and they did it in such a dramatic way and in an epic fashion. And I couldn't agree more. That moment where, you know, he was waiting for so long, not on no notice me senpai type of deal, but just in general, like, yo dog, where's that recognition? And when it finally happened, when All Might was like, yo, you're awesome as well, yeah, I'd imagine anybody would get emotional having somebody that they really rock with actually, you know, pay attention and give them their props, so to speak. So shout out to Michael B. Jordan for that. Like, homie, whenever he does, you know, come in and talk about anime, he really does a good job of it, and he promotes it very well. Moving forward, I wanted to cover this one because, well, I think the artist Kei Urana is truly, in my opinion, one of the closest, at the very least image-wise, things that we have to a kind of female Tite Kubo. At the very least, as far as the drip goes, that's all I'm really speaking on. Like, the drip is kind of legit. I'm meaning, like, you know, the fashion, the hair and stuff like that. That's it. And also Gachi Akuta, from what I've seen, is pretty good. But there's been something that's been going on recently on Twitter that I thought was noteworthy of addressing as well. And Kei Urana, the, you know, artist and, you know, the creator of Gachi Akuta, recently took a stance regarding Twitter, because the artist of Dr. Stone took a similar stance. Gachi Akuta creator Kei Urana follows suit with Boichi, again artist of Dr. Stone, over concerns with new XAI image editing feature. Twitter seems to be going downhill, so from now on I'll mainly post my art on Instagram. And if you don't know, there's a lot of things that's been going on with Twitter. Like, Twitter is a great promotional tool, and Twitter is a really awesome thing to just kind of have like dialogue, conversations, as far as like, yo, you got an interesting thought about stuff. Like, I'm not gonna bash on Twitter because, yo, I've always kind of been in one way or another, at the very least here and there on Twitter. But some of their updates recently, as far as like the things that you have to agree to, has been kind of crazy. The fact that they can use your art to train their AI robot stuff, there's no way essentially to go around it. They can use your stuff and create using your thing and eventually not need you. That's kind of like, wow. And we're not even going to get into the whole argument of AI, because everybody in some form or another is using AI, even if you know it or not. But I will say, when it comes to stuff like that, I don't blame her for going and saying, yo, I'm going to just start posting my art either on Instagram or other platforms, whatever or whatnot, and keep it just straight up, just like, you know, talking and text on Twitter. And I think also Gachi Akuta recently got a season 2. I wanted to throw that in there because, yeah, I think the series is actually interesting at the very least. And again, massive support for Kei Urana. In my opinion, very wholesome and loving update regarding the artist, the late artist XXX Tentacion. In case you don't know, first of all, always had a fondness for the music. I think he had some incredible music. We're not going to talk about his personal life because, yeah, that's just not where we're going to go with it. But something that I always found to be fascinating and kind of just awesome in general, because again, that was an artist that I really appreciated their art, was the fact that he was also an anime and manga fan. And apparently XXX Tentacion's My Anime list includes Naruto, Fairy Tail, Attack on Titan, and Bleach on finished shows with high ratings. So at some given point, homie was just really indulging in some incredible entertainment. Still hoping one day we get that XXX Tentacion anime that I think was like rumored. And he was watching One Piece, that included in there. And if you don't know what My Anime list, essentially it's a website where you could catalog all the anime and manga and things of that nature that you basically watch and read and stuff like that. It's a great way to keep track of it if you actually watch and read a decent amount amount of stuff, or in general, even if you only read and watch a few things, you can know, hey, oh, this is where I left off at. It's pretty cool. And then last but not least, shout out to video games. I'm sure everybody at one point or another has visited, or at the very least you know about GameStop, right? It's a classic. Well, apparently there's an update that says GameStop is currently executing a new wave of store closures in January as part of a multi-year store portfolio optimization review to combat declining sales and a massive industry shift towards digital downloads. Following the closure of nearly 600 US locations in 2024, the company confirmed in 2025 December filings that it would shutter a significant amount of additional stores before the fiscal year ends of January 31st, 2026. And from what it says right here, National Impact, GameStop has not released an official master list. Unofficial trackers and local reports indicate more than 200 locations across the US are closing or set to close this month. Significant closures have been reported in states including Alabama, California, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Texas. And I'm gonna just keep it all the way real. When it comes to GameStop, like, yeah, there's probably been like, I don't know, maybe like one, worker that was like really cool and stuff like that from there, but for the most part, that's also a case-by-case scenario. And in general, I guess it's a heads up for people that, whether you rock with GameStop or not, that yeah, they're probably going to be closing down. So some of those workers probably should, start finding other avenues if you haven't already. And in general, that might be the end of an era for, at the very least, the GameStop stores, which is crazy to say because, there's so many memories in GameStop. Like, I remember I met some of my fans at GameStop at one given point, and that was one heck of an experience to say the least. But yeah, it seems as though GameStop is closing more locations, and it's about to get crazy because the digital era is continuing to rise. But that's all I have for this one. I'm Tim. As always, people, have an awesome day. Peace in.
One time for the warriors, they gonna write about us one day. It'll be a story, bro. One time for the warriors, one time for the warriors. Let me hear you say.
I was like, ooh, okay, give me a minute, cause your boy cooking. Your boy cooking now, man. Shit, I'm geeked up, damn, I'm geeked up. Ah! Ah! Yes! A hell of replay value, you hear me? Shout out to brother from Neverworld, my dude. Ah, yes. Oh my God. Bleach. Yes. Live action. Come with it. I want to see it. Yeah, I'm thinking about seeing the first one again. And yeah. So and Black Clover. Yes. More content of that. They need to bring more anime adaptation to that. For the ending for the last quarter because they was trying to end it anyway. And oh my God, dude. And God bless the writer, I mean not the writer, but the artist, the artist for Solo Leveling. I think it was for like the one that's called Reckoning or whatever. But yeah, God bless him as he's going off and doing his little army thing. You know what I mean? So God bless him and may he come back protected. May he go protected and come back safe. Amen. And and continue on doing what he loves. So salute to him. And man, dude, the game too, boy, they came out with another Jump Force game. And yes, motherfuckers, you motherfuckers need to make that son of a bitch to where these bastards is not able to do all these thousands of fucking whatchamacallit, spams, these little spam moves and shit. I'm like, oh man, you're just no good. Kiss my ass. If you're in front of me, I'll choke you. Real talk. Oh yeah, peace, brother. Peace, brother, too, Riv. Yeah, I see you down there, brother. But yeah, I'm about to play this next video real quick. I'm about to talk a little bit further about that. But see, I'm cooking. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm gonna play this one and shout out to my good brother, good big bro, Honorable Charles Faulkner Jr. Shouts out to him for this interview, for this awesome interview right here with our good brother, say it again, our good brother, Orlando Jones.
Like alive. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the legendary Orlando Jones.
What's happening? What's going on here? We at BlurCon, hanging out by the booth. DJ got a fire over here. What's the problem with you?
I'm chilling.
I'm chilling.
I'm icy.
Oh, okay. I'm drippy.
I'm Arctic.
He's Arctic right now.
Arctic.
We the Arctic drip.
Look at the drip right there. There you go.
Hey.
Tell me a little bit about you, about what you've been going through right now. What's new on the project schemes?
Listen, man, I'm gonna leave BlurCon and I'm heading down to North Carolina to shoot a movie called Appendage. Great piece from Anna Zlotnick. She's at the Sundance Film Festival right now with her short film, and the movie got greenlit based on her short film at Sundance. Heading up to New York to do The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So I'll be up there bringing a little splashiness to that show. I think it's in season 5 right now, playing a stand-up comedian. And while at the same time, I'll be performing at Gotham Comedy Club in New York, Core City Comedy Jam, June 24th and August 24th. So if you want to roll through and see us do that live, I'll be in the building over there. And, you know, I think I'm heading back out west to shoot another movie. Winning Time on HBO, playing Elgin Baylor, I believe, for that series, and writing a few new projects and keeping it sexy. That's what I do.
Of course. How many people, do you know how much of an influence you put on a whole generation of adults?
Wow, you know what? It's crazy because there's so many of my fans don't even know about my comedy days. They only know about my dramatic work, right?
Oh, yeah.
From 2010 forward.
Even just that comedy style, I see a lot of it. And guys who do stand up, who do improv, and it was kind of like an original style that you had. You could go from like the dry to the comedic to like the slapstick, and it was like so seamless. So how did you get that?
It really was because I'm just a super crazy fan, and those are all the different styles of comedy that I liked. And, I really enjoyed those. They made me laugh in different ways. So I wanted to be able to make all of them a part of something I did, because I just felt that other fans would appreciate the little homages that could happen but felt like they were a part of the scene. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that was always kind of the way I approached it. Like, I'm a fan. These are the things I like. These are the things that make me laugh. How do I become those things?
Okay. So a lot of people don't know that you're a gamer.
Oh, man.
That you're like a full-time blurred black nerd for those who don't know. So what type of games do you play?
You know, man, I pulled up since I have kids. Mostly now I'm just on Roblox in various rooms, lighting somebody up in big paintball. But I might be in Brookhaven, you know what I mean? Pet Simulator. I'm running around in those kind of games now, playing with my daughters mostly.
Oh.
Back in the day, I was about that Halo life heavy. I'm actually the sergeant on the field in Halo 2. That's my voice running around screaming commands at everybody.
Okay.
So during that time, it was all about online gaming. It was all Call of Duty. First person is what I love. So, and then for a minute, it was Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon War Within the Cartel, because my company made the launch movie for that project. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
Check it out on Amazon Prime. We did that film, and then I got lost in that game. So, yeah, man, I've always loved it. It's always been like an escape, back from the early days of, writing basic and MS-DOS code, right when they gave computers to kids and stuff. So I was always that nerd,
Because, a lot of times people don't understand this, that you got to actually be into it to understand it. And like, to get those roles, you got to put your work into it.
You do, particularly if I'm looking at it from my point of view, you know what I mean? Like, I really think about it, right? I assume that everybody gonna be as nerdy as my ass is, right? So, you know, so I really try and make sure that I'm pulling at the threads of the essence of the character or the essence of what's going on. And for me, that doesn't mean my story. I really enjoy collaborating with people. So for me, I'm trying to bring your story to life. You know, I'm not trying to bring my story to life. It's about your story. Yeah. Sometimes it's about my story, but in many cases, it's about somebody else's. So I'm not trying to take their story from them or disrespect it. I'm trying to enhance it.
Do you think it's like? Do you think you get a lot of leeway to give your interpretation of a story or a character or?
Yeah, I don't need words often. You know, I just need them the intention. I think it's just the process now is in such a way that there's not an opportunity often to talk to the storyteller.
Yeah.
So you find yourself kind of in the dark because tone is not something you can pick up on the written word. You know what I mean? So you really don't often have an opportunity to discuss tone, and I think that's a difficult part of the process today. I think for everyone.
I think that's what's like one of your strengths is that you're such a great improver that it's like somebody give you a script, hey, do what you do.
Right. But, you know, I also like, you know, if you wrote it, I honor the word, you know, I like to be down to the comma if that's what you would like. You know what I mean? It really depends on, some people are like, hey, I want you to play with it. Some people are like, no, I want this, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter to me which one you want. I come into the process in the way that you want me to engage in the process. That's how I learned to become a creative. So I really like to adapt to the creative I'm working with. So a lot of times I'm really more blank than people realize.
Yeah.
And they kind of sometimes want me to put an imprint on it. I'm like, I need to know what story it's important to you. I mean, I look at something like Forrest Gump and I go, you know, that's a comedy, in some ways a broad comedy, but that's not the way it's played.
Mm-hmm. It's actually played pretty straight.
Very straight for, you know, Elvis teaching you how to dance and running the braces off your legs. Yeah. I mean, but, you know, Zemeckis, even in used cars back in the day, had this tone to his storytelling. Yeah. I feel like that's a huge part of it.
And what about your time here at BlurCon? How do you feel? How do you love it? How's the love coming?
Anytime, it's been extraordinary, man. Anytime I get to interact, the DC area of the United States has a unique group of people, of Black intellectuals, people who have really appreciation for the arts and are aficionados of various aspects of the arts. So as one of those nerdy kids, it's kind of, it feels like home to me, right? Yeah. I meet a lot of cats who, if we don't know all the same thing, we find ourselves on the same themes in different projects. So you don't even have to know the project, but you still connect to that certain theme that has always resonated in you as one of those kids that didn't necessarily fit into that white nerd category.
Yeah, and I think it's unique because the last year was the first year I came here. And it's like, you know, Black people got to put a little spice on it, you know, a little season on it.
Always.
And it's like, even I come Thursdays because that's the communal part. Like you're sitting around smoking cigars, making some cognac, and it's just so communal. And
ain't nobody putting tuna fish in the macaroni and cheese. We all know the tuna fish don't belong in no damn, that turns mac and cheese into cat food. We all know that.
And I mean, it's funny because this is like a haven because, you know, for so long, that's the first time I got video bombed.
You killed it too.
Killed it. This is like, it's kind of funny because you know how traditionally Black men have been placed in a box. And what's your take on it when you come to places like this and you see everybody who's multifaceted?
Oh, it just looks like real life. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, so you know, I don't know what any of these boxes mean. I know that, you know, there's a perception that we are the hunted, and so it's okay to gun us down the street and justify, you know, whatever your heinous act was with, well, I mean, he's a Black dude. I mean, what do you expect me?
Yeah.
I mean, he's dangerous. He's obviously dangerous. He could have killed me. He could have killed me, you know? He could have killed me, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like with that sort of feeling is often tossed about as a reasoning for doing whatever you're doing. I think it's, you know, fair to say we're the hunted. So as such, I think I have a pretty diverse point of view about what it is, and I'm often trying to build bridges and not create altercation, though the assumption is that I'm looking for the altercation when in fact I'm not. Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that ideology is just the way that we're thinking, and many of us don't give a fuck, and that
Yeah,
would be me. I really don't care one way or another, but I'm also not trying to spend my life spreading, bad energy, hatred, what
yeah,
have you. It's not my thing, right? It's not how I want to live my life as an artist. So
yeah.
I say that to say, we try and point our nose forward and move because of who we are, not because of who somebody else is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I did a live stream a couple of days ago, speaking from my professional experience being a soldier and also being a former police officer. And I said, I just don't understand that you're going to say a guy running from you, unarmed, deserves 90 rounds being thrown at him and 60 hitting, but you got a guy in the 4th of July on a rooftop in a sniper position and he's alive. Something doesn't equate there. And I'm not trying to be on no hate, but I'm just like, wait a minute. Something was a clear and imminent threat compared to a person trying to escape.
Really, you're in battle with a perception, and it's hard to battle a perception.
Very true.
My
And
man, I got to go to the bathroom right now because my bladder is sending messages on my Facebook page right now. I know I might have to leave, or I'm gonna humiliate myself on your live stream.
oh no,
I
you
don't
good
want
to
to do
go.
that.
You good to go, man. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure to you, man.
Mad love.
Woo!
Hey.
Thanks for it. Thanks for it. Woo! Don't worry, there's more interviews to come. Peace.
Yo, yo. Hey, I'm back. Okay. Man, I was just sitting there listening, dude. Yeah, man, that was some real shit, man. It was like what? Good 10, 11 minutes, he had our boy Orlando. Shit, hey, and that's highly plausible, boy, where motherfucker had a piss. You gotta respect that shit. You know what I mean? Even though if he had to do like, something else, you know what I mean? But hey, that was still a good, because 10 minutes is something, man, especially to a creator, you know. And yeah, so we appreciate that. We appreciate that from brother Charles Faulkner Jr. Shout out to him. Shout out to Big Bro. And yeah, man, and it's really cool to see brother Orlando how he's, basically a super geek. You know what I mean? He's did voice acting, which I didn't know. He did voice acting in Halo. I think he mentioned like two different Halos he did voice acting in. And man, he did like so much shit too. Like I even liked his acting within the movie Time Machine, which is another movie, another old classic. I would say, it's a decent classic, something to go back to, revisit. But yeah, I may show that, here in the Rumble. But but yeah, he did a good job in that, for the time he had. So and too, that you guys are familiar with. But but yeah, and damn, and brother Charles did a damn good job, man. With his interview, you know, he asked us some great interview questions, and it was very, very articulate too. Shout out to Black Excellence. God bless them, but God bless both of these gentlemen. Amen. That was some good shit. So yeah, no, and I got another one for y'all too. So yeah, another video for you guys. So I got like maybe a couple few more, and then I'll get set up. I already got my food prepped, which is what I was doing while I was listening.
All right, guys, now look, I'm sick, but I don't care. Work with me here, because DCKO is cooking right now. We have a new person who entered the tournament. We have a new transformation. And finally, the Absolute Universe has met the Prime Universe. Welcome back to Keeping It Comic, and today, we're diving in to DCKO issue number 3. Now, this starts off with kids having fun at a birthday party, and Heart of Apocalypse says, in the split second before the next round begins, Clark hears screaming, the screaming of children, his muscles tense. But then he realizes the children aren't screaming with fear or pain, but with joy. The world they live in is peaceful and safe and thriving. Is it Earth? It is. He sees. But somehow, it's also him, Superman. He's in every particle, every atom. And then he understands. This is the vision, the one he had on the way into the tournament. This is the universe as it could be if he wins. The universe bent towards him, shaped by him. If he takes the crown and keeps it, a place where people live in harmony, a shining symphonic civilization, brave and hopeful, reaching out, hands open. He wants to look away, but he can't. The beauty is too much. And then he wakes up. Lex is like, good dream, Superman? Me? I had a damn great one. Just then, the rest arrive, ripped from their own vision. A techno-utopia, a universe aglow with truth, a black laughing void, a grand sculpture of will, a dark wonder, a kingdom of peace. Superman is like, are we all that's left? Wonder Woman responds, it seems that, and she's interrupted by the Heart of Apocalypse. Welcome, champions, to the third round of the tournament. In pursuit of victory, Darkseid occasionally allied himself with unexpected beings. So for this battle, you will fight in teams. Each of you must choose a partner. Wonder Woman's like, from where? Among ourselves? And the Heart responds, no, from among them, the fallen champions. There is one of you, though, who has generated more Omega energy than the rest, and so will get to choose a partner from all realms of reality. And that champion is Joker. And he's like, I love this game. But the Heart continues. For the rest, the choice stands before you. You can choose a former foe or an ally. You can choose for wisdom, strength, or chaos, but choose quickly.
Okay.
The choice will be made for you. The Heart then says, Clark is the last to decide. I am just about to choose for him. When he takes his partner, fresh off a brutal round of one-on-one battles, all fights to the death, the victors emerge into this, the next challenge. And this is where things get insane, because we have 2-on-2 battles that are tremendous team-ups. Guy and Hal versus Superman and Shazam, Lex and Supergirl versus Aquaman and Hawkman, Wonder Woman and Big Barda versus Cyborg and Connor Hawk, which, if you don't know, is the second Green Lantern. But then we have Zatanna and John Constantine, and Joker and his mystery partner. So look, in Area 1, guys like, look, I know what you're thinking. Yes, there were way better choices. More powerful, smarter, handsomer. But hey, I always choose my friends. And Hal's like, I'm touched. Superman's like, well, are we doing this? And they take off charging. Guys like, no hard feelings when we kick your asses. Superman says, course not. But that's not going to happen. Right, Billy? And Billy's like, oh, hell no. And Superman's like, language. And it's funny to me they always remind you he's a kid because he's like, sorry, but Superman, thanks for the second chance. Meanwhile, in Area 2, you can see Hawkman and Aquaman are talking it out, and he's like, brought me back for a rematch, huh? And Aquaman says, you're a true warrior, Hal. I'm honored to fight alongside you. C and A are brothers. And he's like, Air and C. But yeah, these two are always in competition. Lex is like, how sweet. All right, Kryptonian, let's finish them. And you can see in her face, she is not happy. And she sends Lex flying. She's like, you seriously thought I'd fight alongside you? Well, I want a new team up. How about it? Arthur, Carter, all of us against him. And Hawkman's like, now you're talking. In Area 3, Berta and Wonder Woman are like, let us unleash the fury of the gods on these mortals. Cyborg is like, you're one of the deadliest fighters in the world, Connor. And Now that I just infuse you with nano enhancements, they won't know what hit them. And that is friggin' crazy to give him nano enhancements. I don't think people realize how deadly his hand-to-hand skills are. But anyway, in Area 4, we have Zatanna and Constantine. And she's like, eyes on the prize, John. And he says, hell of a date you brought me on, love. And she screams, well, Joker, who did you choose? And he says, oh, you know me. I just love to laugh. So I figured, why not pick someone who loves to laugh too? And this man brought an absolute menace to the field. Zatanna's like, the Batman who laughs. And Constantine's like, yeah, I'm not liking this date after all. But they quickly chain these two up. And Constantine's like, hang on, this doesn't smell like dark multiverse. Trust me, I know a con when I see one. And Joker says, the jig is up, old friend. And the Batman who laughs says, the looks on their faces. Joker says, I know how much you love a good trick. So let's play an old favorite, shall we? Go on now. Show them who you really are. And he responds, all right, if you insist. And he snaps. And Joker says, so kids, what's better than a king? And the person reveals himself, an emperor. Emperor Joker, that is. And I feel we all owe Scott Snyder an apology because we were pissed when we didn't see Emperor Joker during the fight with Red Hood, and now we see why we didn't. And he's holding, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name because they keep changing the pronunciation of his name and everything. But Emperor Joker's like, now that's funny. Come on, not one laugh? Fine, I'll laugh for you. Abracablam. And he sends them flying. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman is sending Big Bertha flying with her lasso of truth. And even Green Arrow's like, did Wonder Woman just throw a new god at us? And Bertha's like, she did. I mean, this man had to ask. He's like, I appreciate you picking me to be your partner, Cyborg. But why not pick someone stronger or with magic? And Cyborg says, I'll show you. And he's like, what are you doing? And Cyborg says, like I said, you're one of the deadliest fighters in the world. But I picked you because of how you're deadly. The style of fighting you studied at ashrams. It's all about human impulse and unpredictability, right? Surprise. Perfect for going up against traditional warriors. And once I scan your skills and absorb them, I can fight just like you. And Green Arrow's like, and with your enhancements, I'm as strong and fast as you. Twin Titans. Cyborg says, exactly. Now let's win this thing. Now you can see Constantine and Zatanna got their hands full. Emperor Joker's like, don't you get it? I'm trying to help you both. Magic is supposed to be fun. I just want to see you smile. And things are getting very weird very fast. Zatanna's like, John, those constructs. And he says, I feel it too. They're like some kind of bloody visual neurotoxin. She says, exactly. Just keep your eyes on him, John. And you can see someone's laughing. She turns and says, John, and he says, sorry, love. I just thought of something really funny. And you can see he's been turned into a Joker. Now, these two are taking this twin thing a little too serious because they're both dropping the same exact kick with the same exact leg. And Cyborg's like, not bad for mere mortals, huh? And Wonder Woman's like, Barter, punch me as hard as you can. And she's like, I thought we were on the same team. Wonder Woman responds, we are, just do it. She says, all right, Diana, but this is gonna hurt. And when she does, you know exactly what Wonder Woman's gauntlets do. They send everybody flying. She says, was that why you chose me, Diana? My strength? Wonder Woman says, no. You were trained in the fire pits of Apocalypse. You know the way of war there. I need you to tell me everything you know about the heart of Apocalypse now. Just then, Emperor Joker says, this has been fun, kiddo, but it's time for the curtain to fall on your act. And then he casts a spell. Look into madness. Zatanna's like, John, I can't turn away. And just then, she's turned into a Joker herself. Now, don't forget Superman, Shazam, and the Green Lanterns are going at it because it's an all-out brawl right now. Hal's like, I like the will. I'll give you that much. Superman sends him flying and he's like, I'm sorry, Hal. Hal responds, don't you dare do that. Omega Energy, remember? It's funny though. I think a lot of us figured you'd be the one to beat Clark, which is why for my one item, I brought this. And the short version of what this is, it's called a Black Mercy, and it attaches to a host and puts it into a dormant dream state. So basically, Superman's out of the competition right now in a dream. Not eliminated, just dreaming. Now, in the midst of all this, Supergirl is beating the DNA out of Lex right now. And she's like, why in your wildest dreams did you think I'd side with you? And Lex always has a plan. He says, because of this. And we all know from previous issues what he has in his chest. Aquaman says, Kara, what? She screams, red kryptonite. It makes us rage. Cousin, I'm sorry. But he can't even hear right now because he's in a dream state. See, he's still dreaming about that game night he had with Batman and Wonder Woman and Lois. And, she's like, get out there and be Superman. But the Mercy takes the dream too far, to the point that it's even in the future. And it realizes in this place, he doesn't just fix the present. No, here, Superman, fixes everything. The future, and even the past. But how? Suddenly someone is coming through time to meet him. But who? And then they arrive. His parents, Jor-El. Clark has never felt such peace, never felt so whole. Lois' words come back to him. Get out there and be Superman. The memory fills him with rage. Rage at Hal, at the cursed plant, at the dream, at me, at the game itself, but also at the truth, because that dream could be his reality. It could be our reality. Why shouldn't he win at all? Fix everything. Why shouldn't we want him to? With the world falling apart, the doomsday clock at midnight, don't you want him to save us all? I do. And in this moment, Clark wants to. Wants it with the burning of 1,000 roaring suns. And you can say whatever you want, but the two things you don't want is a motivated or a pissed off Superman. Now, Kara's out here looking like Honey, I Blew Up the Kids. And Aquaman's like, Kara, damn it, listen to us. And Lex is just comfortably leaning here like, I'm afraid that's not going to happen. I spliced red kryptonite with silver to heighten delusions. Added a speck of black to cause violent disassociation. And he's interrupted by what I believe is his inner thought that says Designer K. And so man held dominion over air and sea. But back to the Superman fight, because as the lanterns are down, he stands over Billy and says, Billy, I'm sorry I brought you into this. Billy's like, don't be sorry. Like I said, you gave me a second chance. That's who you are. And the Heart of Apocalypse says, is it though? He told himself he chose Billy to give the boy a second chance. But was there another reason? There was. He knows it. And behind him, Hal and Guy are getting to their feet. They're about to use their rings to craft green kryptonite. Synthetic, an old trick, but effective enough. Clark can sense it. And Superman says, Billy, I also chose you because of what you can do with your powers. For others. The boy realizes what Clark means, smiles, and says the word, Shazam! And as the lanterns are blinded by this light, Guy's like, Lord, someone turn down the power. And as we see Superman has become a Shazam, he says, how about we turn it way up? And everyone's shocked. I mean, the lanterns are like, oh, shoot. They tried to put up a double reinforced shield, and I mean, Superman demolished it. And then beamed them so bad, the only thing remaining are their rings. And the whole time, the Heart of Apocalypse is saying, he takes them out in seconds. But as he does, he wonders, was it this place? Am I getting to him? The dark, twisted Heart of Apocalypse. The way I seem to get to Captain Atom. In this moment, Clark doesn't know, but it feels damn good to win. Across the way, he sees Lex as one too, but there's something in Lex's look. Something Clark isn't sure he has ever seen in those eyes before. Admiration. Round 3 is over. Congratulations. Only you 4 champions remain. Time for round 4. Joker's like, round 4? Here? Now? But, and he's interrupted. Yes, now. But not here. And they're transported. The penultimate round will take place here, on a world that belongs to the King Omega Darkseid. And Joker says, nice. So the next round takes place on Apocalypse, huh? My kind of place. Lex says, no, you idiot, this isn't Apocalypse. Superman says, Lex is right. This is Earth. Wonder Woman says, but how? We were still fighting. And the Heart responds, seems you ran out of time, Diana. So yes, this is your Earth, but you are no longer its champions. They are. Now let the fight begin. And oh man, I cannot wait for the next issue. I think we all know who Wonder Woman and Superman are gonna be fighting with the Absolute Universe, but I'm thinking Joker's gonna go against Batman, and Lex is gonna go against Darkseid, aka Booster Gold. And I need you guys to comment right now who is winning which rounds between these guys, between the Absolute Universe and the Prime Universe, because things are going to go crazy with this final. If you're not caught up with this whole thing going on, the playlist is already showing, so make sure you hit it, get caught up, and then let me know your thoughts. Also, hype this video so more people like you get to see this, because this is bananas. And as always, thanks for kicking it with Keeping It Comic. I'll catch y'all on the next one.
Damn, boy, that battle, man, is... Dude. Well, Zatanna got caught up, so I guess she lost this round. Aquaman and if I can see it, and the Wonder Woman dudes, and Shazam and Superman. Well, Superman getting that upgrade where he gets Shazam powers somehow. So I'm like, damn, okay. Well, that was awesome. Yeah, let's go into our next video. Shout out to him keeping it coming.
Is it just me, or was there something special about the 80s and 90s that just can't be replicated? Looking back, we can't help but notice that the animated films from that bygone era just have a strange edge to them. Now, maybe we're just suckers for dark and gritty stuff, or maybe we're just in desperate need of some long overdue therapy, but we just can't seem to get enough of the blood and gore depicted in these glorious films. Now, if you're anything like us, we promise this is going to be a fun one. Greetings, Marvelous fans. We're back with another Marvelous video, and this time we're counting down the top 10 darkest and grittiest retro anime films ever made. Yeah, we know, you've already seen a bunch of lists like this all over the internet, but we promise this one's going to be different. After all, it's no use mentioning landmark films like Akira, Wicked City, Vampire Hunter D, End of Evangelion, or Ninja Scroll for the millionth time in a calendar year. Instead, we're going to take a look at some of the lesser-known gems that have unfortunately gone under the radar. So hold on to your hats and grab some popcorn, because it's about to get dark in here. Jinro, the Wolf Brigade. Let's start our journey into the dark and gritty with something that never fails to excite us: political strife, dystopian societies, and human tragedy. Now, before you judge, just hear us out. Jinro, the Wolf Brigade, is perhaps one of the most haunting commentaries on the cost of war ever created, and it's time it got its due. Released in 1999, this is a story that blends the all-encompassing nature of a post-war dystopia with an intimate understanding of human behavior and loss. Directed by Hiroyuki Okiura and written by Mamoru Oshii, this tale follows Kazuki Fuse, a member of the elite counterterrorism unit known as the Wolf Brigade. That's one of the most badass names we've ever heard, and in reality, the Brigade is a ruthless force of trained individuals who have just one purpose: to suppress insurgents no matter the cost. And for Fuse, the cost is far too much. During a routine mission, Fuse's momentary hesitation leads to the suicide of a young courier working for the insurgents in the course of a failed operation. This incident takes a heavy psychological toll on him as she begins to see the real cost of state violence. As her psychological armor is slowly stripped away, the film's narrative turns subjective, showing us Fuse's guilt, emotional isolation, and the inevitable erosion of a person's identity when living under totalitarian regimes. The film draws heavily on the popular fairy tale Little Red Riding Hood by reimagining the members of the brigades and soldiers at large as wolves bound by a strict code. Though these wolves are just following orders, their predatory instinct causes them to dig their fangs into a society consumed by fear. Laboriously paced with a special attention towards developing the unsaturated color palette, this is a film that will draw you in through meticulous realism and overwhelming atmosphere. There's no spectacle in the world of Jinro, just quiet decay. The film is so dependent on its realism that at one point, It was almost envisioned as a live-action film. Later, the director went the hand-drawn route, and true to 90s style, it was made using about 80,000 cells. And mind you, the average anime film only consisted of about 30,000. Jinro might have been a contender for the Academy Award, but unfortunately, it was disqualified as it had already been released on home video in Japan. This film isn't about heroes or villains, but rather a meditation on the mechanisms of power, loyalty, love, and the loss of innocence, where the only thing that works is violence. Ghost in the Shell, 1995. When it comes to creating bleak worlds and broken characters, my guy Mamoru Oshii is something of a genius. Now, we know we promised to steer clear of iconic films, but we're sure that there's still someone out there who hasn't heard of Ghost in the Shell. This isn't a film, in our opinion, but a work of philosophical introspection on technology and human consciousness. Set in the near future, this is a cybernetic world where human bodies can be easily augmented via tech. And it's not just about physical changes, as even our minds are connected through a series of vast digital networks too difficult for us to comprehend. Our protagonist is Major Motoko Kusanagi, a cybernetically enhanced operative working as a counter-terrorism officer in the Public Security Section 9. The story kicks off with Motoko on the trail of a mysterious hacker known as the Puppet Master, but as she digs deeper, things get really existential. She begins to question her identity. Well, the idea of the self can be pretty elusive in a world like this. When your memories are always susceptible to change and your bodies are expendable, is anything even real anymore? The director, Mamoru Oshii, intentionally made the decision to never have Kusanagi blink in the film, as it endowed her with an almost doll-like presence. It's a real Ship of Theseus situation nestled neatly in a film filled with political intrigue. There are many moments of quiet introspection where the viewer is forced to just marvel at urban landscapes brought to life by a one-of-a-kind soundscape that really works to evoke a sense of isolation. In the world of Ghost in the Shell, technology is neither destructive nor liberating, it's merely an appendage, another extension of humanity. Watch this one for the striking imagery and philosophical dialogue, because we promise you'll be left asking for more. Pat Labor, the movie, 1989. In the year 1989, Mamoru Oshii forayed into the sci-fi genre once more with Pat Labor, a film that blended the mecha spectacles we're so used to with the genre roots of a police procedural. The film began as a mixed media project consisting of manga, OVAs, and novels by the creative group Headgear. But if you read between the lines, you'll be pretty quick to pick up on the fact that this tale is actually a good study of balance between technology and responsibility. Oshii returns once more to his favorite setting, a futuristic Tokyo where human civilization has grown completely dependent on humanoid construction robots known as labors. We follow the Special Vehicles Section 2 as they encounter various labors malfunctioning and threatening public safety. As this intriguing mystery gradually unfolds, what lies behind the curtain are acts of sabotage entrenched deep into the city's foundation and infrastructure. This is undoubtedly an allegory about the unforeseen risks associated with humanity's reliance on technology. Of course, Oshii pays great attention to realism while maintaining the kind of atmosphere that gets under your skin. He intentionally made the labors industrial in their aesthetic, which allows them to stand out from more heroic mechas that the audience was already familiar with. Instead of constant action, what we have here is the masterful use of urban landscapes, mechanical detail, and a really deliberate use of pacing to evoke the inherent dangers of a society advancing without accountability. We're sure that now, in the year 2026, this one will strike a chord with quite a few of you. Pat Labor 2, the movie, 1993. Yup, we're back with more Mamoru Oshii brilliance, and he's really on fire with this one. Pat Labor 2 is another politically charged sci-fi film created by the prolific director that transforms this franchise's lighthearted beginning into something much deeper and darker. Oshii played the audiences once more by intentionally removing every shred of comedy, knowing that the audience would more or less be expecting it at this point. This is a soulful meditation on peace, authority, and modern warfare that allows us a glimpse of a futuristic Japan which has just entered a period of uneasy stability following the Cold War. This time, we follow the members of Special Vehicles Section 2 who are dealing with a series of terrorist attacks and military provocations that really cause you to think about the blurry line between internal security and open conflict. The prime suspect behind these violent incidents is a former JSDF officer named Suge Yukihiro. The film uses his story to ask poignant questions about whether peace maintained through technological superiority and wars fought at a distance from home is even peace at all. In this one, Oshii frames Tokyo as both a safe space and a prison where a calm exterior hides the flaws in the system lurking in the shadows. In typical Oshii style, he uses silence and realism to shift away from the mecha fights of the earlier installments towards a more philosophical space where you're forced to think about the ways in which a state exercises and exploits its powers. After all, even preservation can sometimes have an ethical cost. Here, war isn't just an external threat, but a banal reality that the characters are forced to live with every single day. Ryujin Z 1991. Listen, we don't want to sound like gatekeepers, but if you're a sci-fi film fan and you haven't seen the works of Katsuhiro Otomo, well, are you really? Because, I mean, come on, the man made Akira. But today, we're going to take a detour and talk about Akira's underrated twin, Ryujin Z, which came out in 1991. This darkly satirical take on the genre functions as a critique of relentless technological advancements through the lens of aging care and state control. Once again, we find ourselves in the near future where Japan is grappling with an ever-increasing elderly population. The focus this time is around Z001, an experimental, fully automated hospital bed that's designed to take care of patients with almost zero human intervention. The designs for the bed were actually borrowed from plausible healthcare concepts, which shows Otomo's strict adherence to the real world. But when this marvelous piece of equipment is assigned to a terminally ill war veteran named Kyuro Takazawa, something completely unforeseen begins to transpire. The bed's AI begins evolving beyond its functionality and absorbs Takazawa's memories and desires to become something that goes beyond both humanity and technology. This kickstarts a bureaucratic spiral that asks a simple question: how do you remain compassionate within a system that is inherently indifferent? To be honest, Ryujin Z's absurd humor and introspection about the ethical failures of modern technology are far more relevant today than they ever have been. Interestingly, the film itself is a product of technological advancement in the field of animation, as it was one of the first stories to blend primitive CGI with hand-drawn animation. Memories, 1995. For this entry, we're going to be looking at the 1995 anthology film Memories, which was produced by Katsuhiro Otomo. Otomo has often cited this one as an experiment in tone and not really a franchise. He wanted to see how far he could stretch audience discomfort while creating separation in structure and genre. It's comprised of 3 stories, each of which turns its attention towards a different facet of technological anxiety. It opens with a haunting psychological drama called Magnetic Rose, which features space salvagers visiting a derelict ship. However, there is something about this abandoned spacecraft that draws the team members towards a world shaped by memory, loss, and hallucination. For the next installment, the anthology goes through a sharp shift in tone, as Stink Bomb is honestly one of the funniest sci-fi stories we've ever come across. This dark satire presents us with a setting where inept bureaucrats throw the world into an absurd spiral which can only end in total biological catastrophe. For the last part, cannon fodder, the film almost turns into a moving storybook as we travel through a militarized society that's perpetually at war with nothing whatsoever. They literally have no clear purpose or enemy, but they just can't seem to stop fighting. Though the tones vary greatly across the 3 stories of the anthology, the point Memories is trying to make is clear. Humans are self-destructive creatures who are very adept at creating systems that will one day destroy them. Spriggan, 1998. Spriggan is an adaptation of the manga written by Hiroshi Takashige and Ryoji Minagawa, which was first released in 1998. The film, however, compresses several story arcs which have led to fans often viewing the film as an alternate continuity rather than a strict adaptation. A high-octane action film, this story expertly blends together 2 integral facets of human existence: ancient mythology and modern militarism. We find ourselves in a world where relics from civilization lost to time are unearthed by the authorities. As a result, our protagonist, Yu Omanai, an elite operative known as Spriggan, is tasked with securing these artifacts before their boundless powers can be used to create weapons of mass destruction. When a particularly powerful relic, Noah's Ark, draws the attention of a rogue faction from the US military, the entire world erupts into chaos. What follows is a worldwide struggle for power that threatens to destroy everything. This film offers an interesting glimpse into a world where cutting-edge tech stands in contrast to primal forces that are so awe-inspiring that the human mind can barely comprehend them. But what really makes this story tick is humanity's innate impulse to dominate and control what they fail to understand. The cautionary tale is depicted with dynamic action sequences that won't fail to keep you hooked to the screen for its entire duration. X. 1996. Based on a manga by Clamp, this dark apocalyptic tale was directed by Rintaro in 1996. Even today, it stands as one of the few fantasy films that have managed to expertly blend supernatural spectacle with emotional crisis. It transports the viewer into the near future, where Tokyo is on the brink of inevitable destruction. Strangely, the idea for the apocalypse occurring in 1999 was chosen by the members of Clamp before the tale even existed. In the middle of this chaos, we find our protagonist, a young man named Kamui Shiro, whose return to the city is essentially a prophecy that foresees the ultimate conflict between two powerful factions. On one hand, we have the Dragons of Heaven, who seek to preserve humanity, while on the other, there are the Dragons of Earth, who are dedicated to bringing about human extinction as they believe that it's the only way in which the planet can be saved. Kamui finds himself torn between these two philosophies. Thus, the apocalypse is not just a cosmic event, but a personal conflict that Kamui must handle on his own. The film employs gothic imagery to drive the scale of the whole thing home, while the atmosphere almost leads you to believe that you're watching a grand opera in anime form. It's evident that the creators wanted to develop a modern myth using real Tokyo geography, which is a fact that comes across in every frame. Brutal and violent, this is a film where the end of the world and your personal beliefs are basically indistinguishable from one another. Demon City Shinjuku. If you're a sucker for style, then you will undoubtedly find Demon City Shinjuku a treat for the senses. Directed by Yoshiaki Kawajiri, this supernatural action film is emblematic of excess and nihilism, which were staples of late 1980s anime. The film is an adaptation of a novel by Hideyuki Kikuchi, who also created the iconic Vampire Hunter D franchise. This post-apocalyptic nightmare depicts a world where demons run free in the wastelands of Shinjuku, and the only thing standing in their way is a young swordsman by the name of Kiyoya Izayoi. The son of a hero who fell to demonic forces, Kiyoya inherits his father's destiny. He must now defeat the dark forces that threaten both the human world and the demonic realm. The atmosphere is bleak, the action is violent, and the whole affair is an exaggeration of economic bubble anxieties that inhabitants of Japan were so familiar with back in the 80s. And, well, there's also a bunch of sword fighting that genuinely never fails to impress due to its unique visual flair. So, if you have a thing for the gory and grotesque as we do, check this one out ASAP. Fist of the North Star, the movie, 1986. Now, Fist of the North Star is an anime that kickstarted a whole genre of burly men taking on monsters all on its own. However, despite the iconic nature of the original series, the film often tends to go unnoticed. For the uninitiated, Fist of the North Star is the tale of Kenshiro, a burly specimen, a mere glimpse of whom is enough to increase your testosterone levels. He wanders through a world torn apart by nuclear war as a protector of the weak. As a master of the deadly martial art, Okuro Shinken, he's a man who can take on even the most powerful of warlords using his precise techniques. However, when Kenshiro's fiancée, Yuria, is kidnapped by the tyrannical Shin, Kenshiro must embark on a quest of vengeance that might make your stomach turn. Though there's not much plot here, the hyper-violent fights, as well as the evergreen themes of loyalty, love, and power, more than make up for it. Marvelous verdict! We already told you, anime in the 80s and 90s was a different kind of edgy, full of bleakness and violence. These are stories that allow you a glimpse of worlds where anything that can go wrong will go wrong. But maybe that's exactly why we love these films so damn much. Unfortunately, that's all we got for you this time, but do let us know if you know any more films like these in the comments down below. Have a great one out there, and we'll catch you real soon with another marvelous video.
Damn, man. Yeah, the shit. Those is like, man, some old classics right there. Shit. But a great deal of them, damn it, shit. I vaguely remember and shit haven't even seen yet. Damn. I'm like, shit. Boy, I'm behind. But I did see a lot of like old 80s, 90s anime and shit, so to some degree, especially like Ninja Scroll, Ninja Resurrection, Ghost in the Shell. But yeah, let's check out this next one. Shout out to Marvelous Anime.
Hey folks, looks like you're just in time for yet another marvelous anime video. Remember being told that cartoons and anime were for kids? Well, that was a sentiment harbored by most people across the world before the 1980s. However, with the 80s came one of the most brutal and violent anime of all time, called Fist of the North Star, or Hokuto no Ken as it's also known. The world was yet to be exposed to such levels of violence and mature content in what was essentially a medium for children's entertainment at that time. No doubt that Hokuto no Ken isn't the first mature-rated animation to have ever come out, but it certainly was the one that got everybody, from fans to parents to lawmakers, to sit up straight and take notice. Ever since, its legend has only spread from anime adaptations, live-action films, and even to video games and pop memes, cementing its status not just in anime and manga, but pop culture in general. However, despite being such an obvious juggernaut of the industry, it's not without flaws. In this video today, we're going to take you on a journey where we discuss how even a legendary anime like Hokuto no Ken can have shortcomings. From its pacing to its controversial reception, we'll cover everything that you need to understand about this anime and why it's such a flawed masterpiece for some, while others consider it to be the holy grail of shonen anime that perfectly encapsulated the wild retro era during which it was birthed. Let's begin. We know it sounds wild to consider the legendary Fist of the North Star as a flop, so let's just start off by saying that we consider this to be one of the most iconic anime and manga series to have ever come out. Its legacy is undeniable, and its impact on the anime and manga industry is unmistakable. Fist of the North Star, or Hokuto no Ken, is the brainchild of writer Yoshiyuki Okamura and artist Tetsuo Hara, which made its debut in 1983 and ran for a remarkable 245 issues. The series would soon receive 2 anime adaptations under Toei Animation and run for a combined 152 episodes. A feature-length film summarizing the events of the manga up until Kenshiro meets Rao would also come out not long after in 1986. Ever since, the series has become a mega franchise with multiple spin-offs, a live-action film, and numerous video games. So when we say what went wrong with this series in this video, we don't necessarily mean to say that it flopped or isn't popular by any means. I mean, it's one of the highest-grossing anime franchises of all time, after all. The purpose of this video is to examine where Hokuto no Ken didn't quite hit the mark due to things like censorship, compromises, and changing expectations over time. We feel it's okay to admit that even for a legendary anime, there are things that it could have handled better, from the production to the final product. To kick things off, let's start with censorship and its effect on this series. The Fist of the North Star is no stranger to controversy regarding the nature of its content, which is violent and full of gore, as you might have heard. I mean, the series has literally been credited with establishing Mortal Kombat's fatality system, which should tell you a lot by itself. In fact, the violence in the anime was considered bad enough to be accused of corrupting French youth by several politicians in the 1980s. Such was the noise around the mature content in this series that even the people behind its marketing hyped up the 1986 film as being the goriest and bloodiest film to have ever been made. Riding this hype, the film was an immediate success, quickly becoming one of the highest-grossing films domestically that year. However, success brought its own set of challenges, with parent groups and media backlash happening almost immediately. Toei eventually caved into the pressure and delayed the home video release of the film. When the home version did release, most of the gore was heavily censored or edited in such a way that its visceral impact was felt way less than intended. To this day, the original theatrical version of the film is still not available to audiences, which has spawned a number of urban legends regarding its fate. The most popular theory is that the sacred original tapes were destroyed in a mysterious fire, and while that might make for an interesting myth, the truth, we believe, is far more mundane. It's most likely that the tapes were damaged during the censorship process, or the rights holders are withholding them for reasons unknown. When we watched it much later, it felt like there was a gap between the reality and the reputation of the movie because there was so much mystery surrounding the original edition that we felt like we were missing out. Many fans and newcomers to the series have also said that this intrigue raised their hype for the film and the entire series to such a level that they felt let down upon seeing the final product. It's only natural to set unrealistic expectations about something and proceed to be disappointed when it fails to live up to your imagination, particularly for newer fans. While on the subject of newer fans, let's talk about how many of them have a gripe about the way the show is paced. We should remind you that when you're binge-watching all 152 episodes, it was made without taking into account the fact that their viewers might one day have the means to just watch the whole show in one sitting. The anime adaptations began just a year into the manga's life cycle. What this meant was that, just like most anime, the series was adapted adapting an ongoing manga. Naturally, just like most anime that fall into this category, the scenes feel much slower with drawn-out reaction shots and fight scenes. Any anime fan who remembers the memes about Dragon Ball Z's intense minute-long drawn-out standoffs will vouch for just how real this was. When you were exposed to this sort of waiting game every once in a while, it might have been tolerable, but 8 episodes into a binge session and this can quickly get annoying and very noticeable. Fortunately for Hokuto no Ken, the rest of it more than makes up for this shortcoming, but often valid criticism is drowned out by blind loyalty, and we thought this was something worth pointing out that viewers today might face. The point we're trying to also make is that Hokuto no Ken was designed for a different era of broadcasting, and it's something that we must keep in the back of our minds when we watch it. Now, funnily enough, the film suffers from almost the exact opposite problems. If you're watching the film for the first time and have zero clue about the anime series and the manga, we'll immediately tell you how haphazard the timeline inside the movie is regarding several key narrative points. A lot of this has to do with the censorship that the movie faced, leading to major alterations being made that absolutely destroyed the flow of the movie for a seasoned Hokuto no Ken fan. However, even without the editing for censorship, the film does try to cram in more than 50 episodes into a 110-minute runtime. Where the anime feels slow and dragged out, the movie has too many rushed plot points, insufficient screen time for key characters, and events out of order from the original timeline. This was to be expected, considering the amount of content they tried to cover in relation to the amount of time they had, as we mentioned earlier. We think even the most hardcore Fist of the North Star fan would agree with us when we say that this film was a poor adaptation, at least story and pacing-wise. However, the animation was definitely a step up from the series, and they could have done a much better job by splitting it into multiple films. The film is still a worthy watch for both long-term and newer fans of the franchise, in our opinion, but what are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below. Now, let's move on to the overall vibes of Hokuto no Ken as a franchise, now that we have a better understanding of its pacing and narrative adaptations. The Fist of the North Star is a completely self-aware series and knows just exactly how over the top it is. This is reflected not just in the powers that these characters possess, but also in their design and appearance. Unlike the slender, boyish-looking characters who look like pop idols that we find in today's anime, Hokuto no Ken is full of towering, muscular, square-jawed titans that ooze pure testosterone. Its unique animation style, setting, character design, and graphic violence set it apart from its contemporaries initially. The key word here is initially, because soon the 80s would be defined by this mature method of storytelling that featured over-the-top violence, themes, and gore. What once felt shocking soon became the norm as more and more anime came out, each trying to outdo the other. No doubt that Hokuto no Ken's legacy was safe, but it was no longer the shiny new thing on the block. It couldn't maintain its uniqueness, with many even calling it campy, with clumsy plotting in comparison to the other works that followed in the retro era. However, for many, these are the same things that continue to endear this iconic anime to them. Seeing as how this franchise continues to get reboots and spin-offs to this day, and how it's continuously ranked as one of the most legendary anime of all time, Hokuto no Ken definitely ticks a lot of boxes. In a poll conducted by TV Asahi in 2006, Fist of the North Star ranked 89th in the all-time greatest anime lists. The series continues to place in the top 100 greatest anime of all time in various surveys conducted since its release. We've already mentioned how the series inspired the fatalities in Mortal Kombat, but its legacy and influence extend far beyond that. We also must not forget to name some of the iconic manga and anime that this series inspired, including the likes of Berserk and Vinland Saga. Yes, its visuals are kind of outdated by today's standards, but the beautifully hand-drawn cell animation gives it a quality that not only evokes nostalgia, but also makes it timeless. Despite the memes, which might mistakenly lead some people into the series thinking it's goofy, this couldn't be further from the truth. At its core, Hokuto no Ken shows us that even a legendary anime can come with flaws, and accepting them doesn't take away from the shine. Even Hara himself couldn't escape the burnout while creating his legendary work, so it's only natural for fans to feel the same way. Hokuto no Ken pioneered an entire era of brutal and mature storytelling that rebelled against the established norms of what was acceptable. It led the way into what is now referred to as the golden age of anime, with its unapologetic narrative, unique character designs, and previously unseen levels of violence. There's no telling where the anime industry would be without Fist of the North Star. In our humble opinion, its beauty doesn't lie in its flawless execution or production, but in its imperfection, as it shows us that despite the odds, something legendary can still be born. Tell us your feelings on Fist of the North Star in the comments down below, but for now, it's time for us to say goodbye. We hope to see you soon in the next one, but until then, stay safe and stay marvelous.
Yo, yo, what's up? What's up? Yeah, man. I mean, it's been stuff, dude. Like, sensitive ass viewers. I know that was like at that time, but around since, ever since then, hell, there's been a whole bunch of bloody gore shit that came out. You know what I mean? So it'd be cool, like, in its later years, in the later years of it, that the creator would come out with some more Fist of the No Star, like a sequel. But it'd be cool. And also, I am interested in the spin-offs of what do you call it, like sequel spin-offs? This is the first time I heard that term. But okay, so I'll rock with it. Of I think it was Barto and Solo Leveling. Those spin-off sequels he mentioned for Neverworld. Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in that. So to check that out. All right, let's get into this next one. So we get this done.
Hey folks, welcome to another marvelous anime video. There's an ongoing myth in certain sections of the anime community that the quality and depth of a series is defined by how long it's been running. No doubt, shows like Naruto and One Piece stand as examples that prove this belief, but we're here today to show you that this isn't always the truth. The animes in this video today are all shows that don't have a large number of episodes, yet manage to tell compelling stories that have captivated audiences across the world. These shows are untainted by things like filler episodes and are guaranteed to give you pure, unadulterated entertainment without taking up half your lifespan. So, without further ado, we present to you 10 short and brutally good anime that are perfect from start to finish. Let's begin. Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Following the success of their title The Witcher 3, video game developers CD Projekt Red would announce their most ambitious title, Cyberpunk 2077. Following the game's resurgence in recent times after its disappointing release, CD Projekt Red would greenlight an anime to further reinvigorate the public's interest in the title. The resulting anime series was Cyberpunk Edgerunners, which ran for a total of 10 episodes on Netflix. The events of the series take place in the game's main city, Night City, a neon-lit, futuristic metropolis located in the former state of California. Instead of the main character from the game, the show focuses on teenager David Martinez, who attends the prestigious Arasaka Academy to fulfill his mother's dreams, despite them being extremely poor. Unfortunately, when David and his mother get caught in the crossfire of gang warfare, his mother eventually succumbs to her injuries. After her death, David uncovers a Sandevistan among his mother's belongings, which is a military body augmentation that should never be in the possession of someone like her. Regardless, David convinces a Ripperdoc, a person who augments people, to implant the Sandevistan in him, following which he takes revenge on some class bullies, which eventually leads to his expulsion. However, his little act of revenge catches the eye of the corporate overlords, who notice that David is not showing any signs of deterioration after using the Sandevistan, making him a prime target for research. Not long after, David comes into contact with the beautiful and enigmatic rogue, Lucy, through whom he joins a cybernetically enhanced criminal gang called the Edgerunners. Each episode grants the viewers a street-level point of view of life in Night City and the dangers that lurk beneath its glowing neon lights. It immerses you right into this cyberpunk world as it tells a captivating story about love and loss in a world that's almost forgotten what being human is all about. This series is so good it made me pick up the game again, and I wasn't the only one, because apparently it boosted the sales of Cyberpunk 2077 to almost 20 million units. The best part about this series is that you don't need to have played the game to enjoy it. Hideo Kojima even lauded it and compared the art and world design of the series to the iconic Cyber City Oedo 808. This one's a no-brainer for this list, considering how it immerses you and gets you invested in such a short time. Odd Taxi. The next entry on this list is perhaps the strangest of all the anime we have for you today. Based on the anime series written by Kazuya Konomoto and Takechi Abaraya, comes a surreal anime with anthropomorphic animals and a 41-year-old taxi driver, Hiroshi Odokawa, who's a walrus. Due to being abandoned at an early age, Hiroshi is unable to properly integrate into society, with his only interaction with other individuals coming from the brief conversations he has with customers. What initially seems to be an anime about the quiet and routine life of a taxi driver driver and his seemingly unrelated conversations with his patrons quickly evolves into something much more intriguing. Being the type that listens more than speaks, it eventually begins to dawn on Hiroshi that the topic of these conversations all coalesce to the mysterious disappearance of a high school girl. Hiroshi's quiet life slowly begins to dissipate as he finds himself in the center of a growing web of conspiracy, deceit, and crime. With the police and the Yakuza tracing their leads back to him, Hiroshi is forced to come out of his shell and get to the bottom of this mystery before it turns fatal. As the story progresses, the ordeals of Hiroshi grant us a peek into his disturbing past and mental conditions that he himself is probably not aware of. Despite being a thriller, the anime provides proper insight on human relationships, the trauma we harbor, and how sometimes salvation comes in unexpected ways. Odd Taxi had us following the breadcrumbs devotedly until its final episode, which absolutely blew us away with its revelation about not just Hiroshi, but the world in which this story is set. As always, I won't spoil it for you, but the payoff at the end is brilliantly presented, and it goes to show you how you don't necessarily need hundreds of episodes to tell a great story with a satisfying closure. If you're looking for a thriller with a soul that will have you binge watching all 13 episodes, then Odd Taxi is something we recommend you pick up immediately. Devilman Crybaby. Anyone who's into violent retro anime will be familiar with the name Go Nagai. After all, he's one of the most iconic mangakas of that era who spawned both the Devilman and the Violence Jack series. Imagine our happy surprise when it was announced during Nagai's 50th anniversary as a creator that a reboot of the Devilman series would be coming out soon. The series would eventually come out with director Masaaki Yuasa at the helm for Netflix, and Devilman Crybaby tells the classic tale of Akira Fudo and how he merges with a demon to become a powerful entity called Devilman to save the world from a demonic invasion. For the most part, the series follows the original's blueprint, but with some noticeable changes to its settings and the extent of violent and sexual content it has. Yuasa updates the setting of the series to the 21st century, and you might notice there are some things that are different immediately. For instance, while the original featured delinquents who bullied Akira, Crybaby instead replaces them with rappers. There are also long rap segments that act as narration for the story. The technology used by Akira and his friends is also different, with the integration of text messages and social media into the story to push the narrative forward. According to the director of the series, this played a key role in making the violence in Devilman Crybaby more authentic, as people are way more connected in the 21st century thanks to these advancements in technology. Director Yuasa, in an interview, stated that Nagai was probably restricted in many ways about the content he could make due to his work being published and shown in magazines. Therefore, he wanted to approach Crybaby in the way he thought Nagai would have, without any sort of censorship or filter imposed. While this has appealed to a number of fan and critics, there are those who seem to think that he's gone too far with the violence and sexual themes. Honestly though, Devilman Crybaby is no stranger to controversy, as this is not the only thing that's caused an outcry or divided opinions amongst fans and critics. The visuals of Devilman Crybaby also move away from Nagai's traditional artwork in favor of something much more stylized. Nagai himself, though, seems to have zero issues with Yuasa's take on his iconic work, praising it publicly on numerous occasions. The series is spread across just 10 episodes, with each running for a meager 30 minutes, providing the perfect avenue for anyone looking to get into this legendary title. Give it a shot. We think this one will surprise you in a good way. Puella Magi Madoka Magica. Until the advent of Sailor Moon, the Maho Shoujo, or magical genre, had always been associated with being girly and lacking seriousness. When Sailor Moon opened up this genre and made it much more shonen-themed, this next anime really took this genre to another extreme. Puella Magi Madoka Magica is a dark fantasy psychological thriller disguised in the form of a Maho Shoujo series. It's 12 episodes of pure insanity, which is only further accentuated by its traditional cutesy Maho Shoujo visuals. The story revolves around a middle school student, Madoka Kaname, who's offered a chance to become a magic girl by a small cat-like creature named Kyubei. It tells Madoka and her friend Miki that they could gain any power they wanted so long as they signed a contract to fight evil magical beings called witches. Seeing their reluctance to join the ranks of the magical girls, a senior in their school called Mommy takes them on a witch hunt, and here is where it slowly begins to dawn on us that this show isn't really what it seems. That's because Mommy is brutally killed by this witch, and the viewers, along with Madoka and Sayaka, finally understand that being a magical girl isn't as fun as it sounds. The cost for turning into a Maho Shoujo is revealed to be one soul, which transforms into a soul gem. Sometimes complications can arise while forming contracts, as was the case with a Maho Shoujo whose entire family died brutally in exchange for her power. Furthermore, we find out that these witches are actually former Maho Shoujos whose hearts have been corrupted by things like sorrow and despair. The show quickly adopts a nihilistic tone as Madoka is faced with a no-win situation against massive odds. To call Puella Magi Madoka Magica an unconventional Mahou Shoujo series would definitely be an understatement in our opinion. However, if you're looking for something that subverts viewers' expectations and gives you something gritty and dark with a compelling story within 12 episodes, we think this is one of the best anime we can recommend. 91 Days. If you're hungry for some good old-fashioned gangster drama series filled with vendettas, betrayals, and corruption, then 91 Days will scratch your itch just like it did ours. We don't know about you, but we're absolutely suckers for anything that's noir in nature. Although this is a much more recent entry, having only come out in 2016, 91 Days perfectly captures this noir vibe of the Prohibition era. It immerses the audience into this grimy world of La Cosa Nostra with its detailed settings and a cast of layered characters and complex motivations. It's a classic throwback to the works of Mario Puzo and the old Al Pacino films. 91 Days tells the story of a young man called Angelo Lagusa, whose family is brutally murdered by the Venetti family that runs the fictional city of Lawless. Fearing for his life, Angelo exiles himself for 7 long years until he receives a mysterious letter telling him the time is ripe for his return to execute his vendetta. We found how the show transforms Angelo from a grieving son to a cold and calculating manipulator who will go to any lengths for his revenge over the course of the series, especially well done. Angelo returns to Lawless under the alias Avilo Bruno and joins the Venetti family, intent on destroying his enemies from within. He befriends Nero Venetti, the Godfather's heir apparent, to gain their trust in order to kill them easily. However, Nero turns out to be nothing like his father, and the relationship between the two young men begins to test Angelo's resolve. This 91-day-long revenge story is a series that highlights the consequences of vengeance on things like friendship and family. It provides deep insight into the world of mafiosos and the era in which it's set. We love the way the characters are all morally gray, making the story much more dense and layered in return. With just 12 episodes and an OVA, this series is a must-watch in our opinion. Akudama Dry. This next series is another cyberpunk anime called Akudama Dry, which is said to have been heavily inspired by Quentin Tarantino's film Reservoir Dogs. Spanning a total of 12 episodes, the series is set in a dystopian future where the Japanese region of Kansai is a tributary of Kanto. Akudamas are basically those individuals categorized by the government as irredeemable criminals. They are, however, employed by clandestine organizations or even the government itself to do a lot of dirty work in exchange for money. The story kicks off when the Akudamas are given a bounty to free a death row inmate called Cutthroat before his inevitable execution. However, things get complicated when an innocent female government official gets caught up in the mess and she has to assume the role of an Akudama to avoid being killed by the rest. The one who hired the Akudamas soon reveals that this was all a test, and their true goal was to infiltrate the Shinkansen in order to plunder its precious cargo. As the Akudamas and this ordinary girl dive into the mission, they soon realize that there's more going on than meets the eye. It quickly becomes apparent that this is no mere heist, as they get pursued by executioners while the secrets of the Kansai government and their supposed utopia begin to unravel. As these criminals are pushed into a corner, the group's fragile pact begins to fracture and allegiances begin to shift, with the entire thing turning into a desperate game of cat and mouse. The spotlight soon turns to the ordinary girl who's taken the moniker of Swindler to rise to the occasion as the stakes grow ever higher. The unique choice of placing criminals as protagonists is something we found interesting, and we could clearly see Tarantino's influence on something like this. Outside of Tarantino, there's also subtle influence from works like Blade Runner and Ghost in the Shell as well, which we felt. Kazutaka Kodaka, the man who conceptualized the whole thing, has gone on record to state that the show was created with the overseas audience as a target. The entire show is an adrenaline rush affair with several high-octane moments and a satisfying resolution we won't spoil for you here. Just trust us when we say Akudama Drive will leave your heart pounding long after the credits have rolled, so be sure to check it out. Pluto. The sci-fi genre is full of shows that focus on the dangers of technology, especially artificial intelligence, and how humanity reacts to the changes it brings to society. Pluto is another anime that follows a similar theme and is based on the manga Pluto Urasawa x Tezuka by Naoki Urasawa and Takashi Nagasaki. One look at the series, and long-term anime fans will immediately see similarities with Osamu Tezuka's Astral Boy series, both in terms of the narrative and character design. This is intentional because the manga on which the anime is based is, in turn, based on the Astro Boy story arc, The Greatest Robot on Earth. As for the setting, the story is set in a future where humanity and highly advanced robots or androids have been coexisting in relative harmony. Despite human supremacist groups causing trouble, for the most part, the world is headed towards an unprecedented era of peace for both species. However, this stability is threatened when the world is suddenly hit by a string of murders, with the victims being the 7 most advanced robots in the world and their human allies. The victims are murdered in a similar style, with an object either being placed or shoved into their heads to imitate a horn. While the suspicion initially turns to human terrorist organizations, the investigations make a shocking discovery, linking the murders to a robot instead. With the world at such a delicate juncture for both humans and robots, it becomes imperative to catch the culprit before things get out of hand. Enter Guest, a police officer who also happens to be a robot, as he races against time to solve the case and prevent the collapse of the law that's set to grant robots equal rights. This anime was one of my favorites on the entire list. It carefully evokes how a machine can be more human in a world where the boundaries between humanity and technology have all but vanished. In our opinion, it does a great job of showing a world gripped with uncertainty about the future, despite such advancement in technology, and how that often breeds things like hatred and bigotry. This 8-episode anime will grip your heart as it takes you through myriad emotions across its beautiful world filled with extremely well-developed characters. Trust us, you don't want to miss this one. Inuyashiki, Last Hero. Based on yet another series by acclaimed mangaka Hiroya Oku, who also gave us the Gantz series, comes the animated adaptation of his manga Inuyashiki. Immediately, what really stood out was how Oku subverts the traditional idea of an anime protagonist by making him an elderly man. The titular character, Inuyashiko Ichiro, is an old man who's been abandoned by both family and friends, living a lonely life with no one to care for him. Despite this, he's a man with a golden heart, always willing to help others in need. His life changes completely one day when he's hit by an alien attack that destroys the park he was in. However, instead of dying, he emerges with a body that's been completely transformed into a mechanical one, which grants him incredible and fantastical powers. Despite his early panic, he decides to dedicate his newfound powers to help the public. Ichiro does this by not just fighting crime, but also curing incurable diseases with his new powers. Unbeknownst to Ichiro, though, he was not the only person to have been caught up in the blast that day. A young student called Shishigami Hiro, who happens to be his granddaughter's classmate, also emerges from the ordeal with the same powers as Ichiro. However, unlike him, these powers change him psychologically, turning him into a psychopath who uses his abilities to kill anyone on a whim. According to Shishigami, the reason he murders is that his victim's death confirms his own humanity. Thanks to his powers, Hiro becomes impossible for the government and the police to deal with. Seeing that no one can stand up to the young man, Inuyashiki becomes the unlikely hero as he takes on Shishigami to stop his murderous rampage. The two characters act as foils to each other, showing how easily the roles could have been swapped here. Ichiro might be old and abandoned, but he refuses to give up on the very society that discarded him, while Shishigami is young and has the whole world in front of him, yet decides to destroy it all to satiate his twisted desires. We absolutely loved this juxtaposition that the anime makes in terms of its central characters. Inuyashiki, Last Hero, might just be 11 episodes long, but it felt like the ride of a lifetime. Give it a shot, you won't be disappointed. Terror in Resonance. For the penultimate entry on this list, we thought, why not include another great anime by Shinichiro Watanabe, who's best known for creating shows like Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo. Terror in Resonance is a 2014 psychological thriller anime that tells the tale of two teenagers called 9 and 12 within its 11-episode run. The story kicks off when the two kids break into a government facility and manage to steal a prototype nuclear bomb, declaring themselves part of a group called the Sphinx. They threaten that unless their cryptic riddle is solved in time, the two will detonate the atomic bomb and reduce Tokyo to rubble. As the story continues, it becomes clear that the two young boys were capable of stealing a prototype weapon and holding an entire city hostage. 9 and 12 were both survivors of a horrific and inhumane experiment conducted at the Rising Peace Academy that aimed to turn 26 selected orphans with genius-level intellects into human weapons. While the academy had been destroyed mysteriously, 9 and 12 are revealed as survivors of this horrible place, and they intend to bring to justice the corrupt system that tormented them and their friends. With the government at its wit's end, a brilliant yet troubled detective called Shibazaki is drawn into the case. What starts off as his pursuit of these boys as terrorist masterminds soon leads him down a rabbit hole that reveals the government's hand in the boys' traumatic past. We felt the idea and execution of this show was as flawless as one could expect. Its exploration of how modern society functions and the rage the boys felt towards the system spoke to us, as it's so relatable in today's world. Its anti-system rhetoric is so brilliantly done that it managed to draw the ire of the Chinese Ministry of Culture in 2015, leading to it being banned in China. The series has also gone on to win multiple accolades both domestically and internationally since its release. If you had to choose just one show to watch from this list, we think this should be your choice. Anohana, the flower we saw that day. For the final entry on this list, we've decided to bring you something a bit more emotional and contemplative. Anohana, the flower we saw that day, is a coming-of-age supernatural drama that will pull at your heartstrings and have you reminiscing about those carefree days of youth. At least, that's the effect the series had on us. Anohana follows the story of 8 young adults who used to be part of a tight-knit circle of friends that eventually drifted apart after one of them died prematurely. The story picks up 5 years after the incident, when the leader of their old group, Jinta Yadomi, is visited by the ghost of the deceased girl called Meiko Menma Hanma, asking him to help her get her wish granted in order to pass on to the afterlife. The only problem is that initially, only Jinta is able to see her, and Menma has forgotten what her wish was. Jinta, who was once a vibrant and outgoing young boy, has now turned into a complete shut-in after the death of Menma and his mother. He's forced to go outside into the world again and connect with the rest of their friends, piece together the clues that will reveal what Menma's wish was. He gathers his friends, who join him reluctantly, thinking that he just needs help to move on from the tragedy. Things, however, soon get heated when they accuse him of hallucinating the situation, as no one else can see Menma. Seeing this, Menma appears before them, confirming the truth behind Jinta's quest. As the story progresses, it becomes increasingly evident that each member of their friend group has been secretly shouldering the guilt they feel towards Menma's death. Through their quest to help Menma reach the afterlife, they too reconcile with long-buried feelings and help each other move on as well. It's a sorrowful tale of watching young people grow into adults and overcome trauma, which appealed to us. Through their shared pain of losing their friend, which initially distanced them, the group became closer than ever. The character of Menma, the ghost of an innocent child that harbors no ill feelings and only dreams of being Jinta's bride, will have you in tears. With just 11 episodes in it, this series will take you through a roller coaster of emotions along with the cast. If you haven't seen this one yet, take our word for it, you won't regret it. Marvelous verdict. Well, that about wraps it up for this video. The animes on this list prove that you don't need a million episodes and multiple seasons to tell a compelling story. The series on this list contains some of the best stories ever told in all of anime, despite their length. From the neon-lit streets of Cyberpunk 2077 to the somber reconciliation of Anohana, these anime will stir your soul with their beautiful settings, rich narratives, and complex characters. Tell us which other anime you think deserve to be on this list in the comment section down below. But for now, it's time for us to say goodbye. We'll see you soon in the next one, but until then, stay safe out there and stay marvelous. Hey folks.
Yo, yeah, man, shit. So I don't know. I mean, you may get one. Okay, I do have that in me. As a lover of anime. You know, go with my list that I arranged, like the decent, badass, action storytelling and plot giving. Yeah, you gotta rank it like that, I believe. Otherwise you'll be like all over the place. Like you see anime, you're like, it's kind of draggy. You get the premise of it already, and so therefore you're not coming into like that. It doesn't gravitate you like like something that was exciting, like with some action, like basically an anime that has less action but more talking and and emotional roller coasters, that goes on in between characters that you typically see, like you said, with this Ohana, anime, the last anime that he gave. Uh, I'm gonna be interested in checking out, yeah, like maybe the first two or something like that, but those kind of animes, but yeah, I can't, yeah, gotta put them on the back burner, basically. Um, for the animes, that are more like exciting, like Bleach. Like you won't catch me watching them like that when Bleach comes out, or Jujutsu Kaisen or whatever, Black Clover, Solo Leveling. So, well, I want to be emotional. No, none of that shit. I'll have my daughters maybe watch something like that, you know. Not to say like, hey, that's the only type of anime, hey, they should watch or whatever, but like they can't get into the mainstreams. But shit, that's something I'll direct towards them. Because motherfucker already got no going on. Like, I don't want to watch something that's going to have me reflect something that I'm like not trying to put so much focus on, like 24/7 focus on like that. You know what I mean? Like why stress yourself out when you don't have to? So that's how I look at it. But yeah, so man, it's pretty good stuff, man. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good diverse news, man, on this one. So yeah, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys for coming through. Hit the like, share, subscribe, and hit the follow. So you can follow and be notified whenever I do my anime nights. And so yeah, come on through, man. As I about get ready to fire that up. And yeah, man. Um, so it's 3. I may give it some time. Yeah, I may go ahead and yeah, not start it this early. I'll wait. I'll give it like maybe like close to around noon. So yeah. So going to like Saturday anime night. All right. So yeah, give y'all time to do what y'all do, get up or whatever, eat breakfast and all that good shit. So yeah, and hell, that'll give me time right there to go back into some Stranger Things as I am on season 5, latest season that everybody just finished with. I'm catching up. Episode 3. I am on episode 3 where basically they're trying to find Vecna. Vecna basically, is the premises of this one. As I'm seeing is that Vecna basically figured, okay, he can just be on some ninja shit, and put some, his own genjutsu on bitches. I mean, not on bitches, excuse me. Um, on dinner anybody he wants, but his focus now is on the children. Which is kind of like messed up, but it's part of his big plan. Whatever it is he's trying to create, because he's trying to collect one by one influence and get into the minds of the children of the town. So, and yeah, they're trying to find ways to stop or whatever. And there's certain points, where I'm calling out like dummy. Like, why the hell would you do that type of shit? Just saying shit like that, man. So I'm like, very into it, man. I'm like, damn, I should have been hip to this a long time ago. Whereas I would have been like you guys, like right on it. So yeah, like as soon as it comes out type of shit. But all right, yeah, speaking of, so yeah, I'll get back on that. And thank you guys for coming through. Links in the description. Cash app in the description. Bless the Hanma Force. Amen. Bless the Hanma Force movie night, anime night. They do take time to download and all that stuff. So yeah, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give our outro. Daggone it. Yep, and to track you guys to the anime night, damn it, some man shit. Whenever I come across some kind of like bitch madeness and shit, whenever I'm sharing something, and it's some characters in there that are totally like a feminine acting and shit like that, when they're supposed to be on man mode, but they're far from man mode. Like the possibility of man mode coming back to them is like gone. They like a shade away from their back being blown out. Yeah, blown out a bit. When their back as a man supposed to be straight. Damn it. So yeah. I gotta play this shit. Yeah, here we go.
Shogun 総大将官名より 全蘇兵に次ぐこたびの栄えある海戦の一陣我ら祖軍が受けたまった
なんだこのバカでけえ声は。
隣の戦場だぞ。この戦で秦は滅ぶ。この戦は深く歴史に刻まれること間違いない。この大戦の口火を切る誉れ高き者は林北貴様だ。おう、
先方は。
よっしゃよっしゃ。我が名はその豪将林北。
林武君、そこか。同金の敵は。
我こそこの壮大な戦の幕を開ける者である。死を揺るがすのは誰か。天を震わすのは誰か。沈め戦軍。突撃や。将軍に続け。
さすが公将軍、そうこなくったよ。俺たちも続くぞ。突撃だ軍隊。この大戦の口火を切るのは俺たちだ。
But damn, it didn't finish. Oh shit, they cut out what? Oh man, yeah. At least I can have it play good and smooth for the Rumble side. That's number one manly shit. You see, we seen that, right? Over here on the anime night. We seen that episode already, which was episode 3. And we seen it in English dub. But as you can see in the as you can witness as I have, when I first seen this, your your testosterone level should reach like damn it to Saturn, motherfucker. Like real talk. Like on that type of manly shit. Where motherfucking voice damn it being heard damn it across like the whole battlefield of this great war. The Great War, damn it. And I'll probably say shit is probably like one of the top 5 great wars in history, maybe. One nation defeated 6 other nations as coalition army. This is the Great War right now, damn it, we're in. I was like, damn, I couldn't wait, damn it, to watch this with you guys. Yeah, I can see all these damn masculine principles and behaviors and structures and wisdom guidance that these motherfuckers have to follow. That they have to be. Lessons that you can take from. To help you, damn it, to charge forward. Or whatever it is that you gotta accomplish with such great bravery. No matter what nobody says. And plowing through any damn body that try to get in your damn way. You hear me? So yeah, let's play this one more time before we go. See if it works. I don't know what the hell's going on. Rumble, fix your shit.
諸軍総大将官名より全蘇兵に次ぐこたびの栄えある海戦の一陣、我ら祖軍が受けたまった。
なんだこのバカでけえ声は。隣の戦場だぞ。
この戦で秦は滅ぶ。この戦は深く歴史に刻まれること間違いない。この大戦の口火を切る誉れ高き者は林北貴様だ。おう、
先方は。よっしゃよっしゃ。
我が名はその豪将林北。
林武君、そこか。同金の敵は。
我こそこの壮大な戦の幕を開ける者である。死を揺るがすのは誰か。天を震わすのは誰か。沈め戦軍。戦軍突撃じゃ。将軍に続け。
さすが公将軍、そうこなくったよ。俺たちも続くぞ。突撃だ寸大。この大戦の口火を切るのは俺たちだ。
Ain't that a bitch? No, damn that shit. Anytime motherfuckers play shit over and over in this bitch hell. Damn it, this kind of manly shit needs to be regurgitated. This kind of shit needs to be echo chamber, you hear me? I'd rather see this shit than that damn effeminate shit, you hear me? Motherfucker wearing purses and all that shit.
諸軍総大将官名より全蘇兵に次ぐこたびの栄えある海戦の一陣、我ら祖軍が受けたまった。
なんだこのバカでけえ声は。隣の戦場だぞ。
この戦で秦は滅ぶ。この戦は深く歴史に刻まれること間違いない。この大戦の口火を切る誉れ高き者は林北貴様だ。おう、
先方は。よっしゃよっしゃ。
我が名はその豪将林北。
林武君、そこか。同金の敵は。
我こそこの壮大な戦の幕を開ける者である。死を揺るがすのは誰か。天を震わすのは誰か。沈め戦軍。戦軍突撃じゃ。将軍に続け。
さすが公将軍、そうこなくったよ。俺たちも続くぞ。突撃だ寸大。この大戦の口火を切るのは俺たちだ。
Finally. Yes, finally a CD played all the way through. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That type of shit right there, son. All right. I'm not your fan. I'm not your stand for. I am brother. One versus a million. Peace.